Think I'm live now.
All right, boom. All right, what's up, guys? We are live. So this is the much-awaited debate with Wheat Waffles. Um, so let me kind of outline the how this is going to go. So this is going to be a respectful debate. So obviously, we're not going to attack each other or anything like that. It's going to be. I'm gonna actually first off start off by thanking Wheat Waffles for coming on because it takes a lot of balls to debate someone, and it's something that most of the Redpill community won't do. Rolo won't come on debate me. Fresh and Fit won't come on debate me. A lot of some other black pillars play all these weird games when you try to debate them. So Wee Waffles was extremely straightforward. He was like, "Yo, man, I'm down to debate." He wasn't weird about it. So I respect, seriously. Like, thank you for coming on.
Yeah, thanks a lot. It was nice and easy. We just messaged each other on WhatsApp, like got in touch really quick and was able to sort out this debate like within the first week pretty much of getting in contact. And it's a pleasure to come on here.
Yeah, believe it or not, it's really not that easy with like some other people like in your community where it's like, oh my god, anyway, that's a whole different aside. So this is going to be the format. So we're going to start off. I'm just going to ask Sweet Waffles some questions like I would with any interview guest at all. Then we're going to go through all the things that we agree on, and there are some things that I think that I agree with Wheat Waffles on, and then we're going to go through all the points of contention. We're not going to talk over each other. It's going to be a one-on-one debate, but then afterwards, after the debate is over, according to both parties, then we can answer questions and we can maybe even potentially bring people on. That's only going to be after the debate is over. So we're not going to, unless it's a really good comment that you feel like one of us is really missing something, we're really not going to be like shying away from the debate, because I feel like that can get distracting when like you're having a debate and then you're also taking questions at the same time, and that wouldn't be fair to Wheat Waffles. Okay, so that's kind of the ground rules. So we're also might be showing up some stuff on the screen. I have some stuff that might be relevant to the debate. Wheat Waffles says that he also has some stuff that's relevant, so we'll do that. All right, so let's start off with a little introduction. So I know a few things about you, but obviously I don't know how much you want to share. But let's start off with like a quick introduction. Let's go with that.
Oh, okay, yeah. So my channel mainly specializes in like Blackpill content. Like that's the main sort of idea I'm bringing to the table in terms of like its beliefs on the dating market. And in my opinion, like the Blackpill has three main tenets. Like you cannot believe in the Blackpill if you don't believe in these three things. If you don't believe in these three things, you believe in something else. Number one is hypergamy, and that means that quite simply, women only date up. They only want to date a man who is either equal or greater in value to them.
Isn't that
do you want to respond to that, or do you want to like let me get the other two?
No, I'll let you get. I just want to ask a quick question.
Okay.
Isn't that a big Red Pill tenet as well? Is that like an overlap that you have with the Red Pill community? Because I hear Rolo talking about this all the time.
Yeah, I would say, in fact, I think that the Red Pill and Black Pill do overlap in quite a few different areas. Like some might even say that like they agree on more things that they do than they disagree on. Like I'd say the main commonality with the Red Pill and the Black Pill is that they both like massively reject the Blue Pill. Like the both of these belief systems are trying to get away from that. Like I guess you could say, what's the opposite of the Black Pill? Not really the Red Pill, more so the Blue Pill is like the opposite of that.
Okay,
would you agree with that? So but just on that basis alone, I would say that the Red Pill and Black Pill is going to share at least some common ground, because most like the trajectory that most men go when they leave the blue pill is that they usually find Red Pill content second, whether that be like pickup art or some sort of similar content to what you produce, or more of like the mainstream like Red Pill content like Rollo Tomasi or Richard Cooper, people like that. Then you've also got the MGTOW like content. Some people go find that, and then I think the last kind of step that people go down, like they end up finding Black Pill like content. That's like it's usually either that or MGTOW is like usually the last like content creators that people go to after they've discovered the Red Pill.
So is there a difference between Black Pill and MGTOW, or is that the same thing?
No, I would say there is quite a big difference between MGTOW and Black Pill. So I highlighted this in one of my like really early videos. I believe that the main difference between MGTOW and Black Pill is that MGTOW believes that like the dating market has fundamental issues, like not to do with like the individual people, rather that it's to do with the like institutions, like the systems in place, like the it's looking at the big picture. So it's looking at the like laws regarding marriage, for example. It's looking at those things rather than like individual people. Like MGTOW, when they're making their points, like I've watched a fair amount of their content, usually they aren't talking so much about men. Like they're usually talking about either the institutions, like the systems, and also like women. Like they're looking at those sort of locuses of you know they're looking at those kind of locuses of like blame. I guess that's the correct word. It's not really the correct word, but I think it gets my point across. Meanwhile, when in my opinion, for like a lot of Blackpill content creators, their main focus is like looking at the differences in men, like what makes a high value man, what makes a low value man, and then it's usually like branches off into looks and looks theory from there.
So from what I heard, you're somewhat different than some of the other Black Pill creators in the fact that you haven't given up that, and I could be wrong on this, but from what I heard, that you still go out and you're not like cut off from society. Is that correct?
Yeah, 100%. Like I don't, in fact, I don't really like have any excuse to um be like if we take black pill, like a lot of people kind of get this misconception wrong that they think the what term black pill means to literally give up. I don't think that's the case at all. Like, and I've already read out one of the tenets that I believe is in the black pill, and I'm going to read the other two out in a
Yeah, go
second.
ahead.
And none, well, I will in a sec, but this is a different point that I think that like, well, just even admittedly, right there, the 3 points that I'm reading out, none of them say that oh, like this means to give up. Like you need to
Mhm.
give up because of this. Like that's none of the points. It could be a conclusion that you could lead to from one of the those 3 points based on your circumstances, but based on my circumstances, like no, not at all. Like I don't have any excuse to give up. Like I've still got a fair bit of potential in the dating market.
Yeah, the one thing I will add on that is there's no like with this stuff, there's no absolute definitions. Communities are basically what we define them as, and everyone has different interpretations. So I would fall into the pickup community, right? But a lot of my beliefs are completely different than RSD, right? So it's not like I don't know. You can make the argument that one of the tenets of the pickup community is that game trumps all, but I don't really believe that. I think looks matter. So the point I'm making is that even though like those are the three tenets according to you, right? But some other black pillars might believe that, something differently, right? So it's like you have to take a look at the community as a whole. One of the issues, and we can get into more of this later, that I see with the black pill community is I see a lot of defeatism and giving up, and guys are just like, oh fuck this, it's not for me. I mean, this is like when I talk to Face LMS, like literally, yo man, so do you go out? No, not really, man. I just do nothing. Like I don't really go out. I don't really talk to girls, blah, blah, blah. So he's like equivalent of someone that's given up. And that's quite common from what I've seen in the black belt community. But anyway, so I'll let you finish the other tenants.
Yeah. I was just going to respond to that point.
Mhm.
Like I do agree, like to some extent, with what you're saying that within any community, you're always going to get like a broad range, a broad spectrum of like the beliefs that people have. But when it comes to the black pill, I think that these three tenets that I'm about to read out, well, I've already read out one, but the other two as well. These three tenets are something that every single black pillar like has to hold. Like if they don't hold these three things, then by definition they cannot be black pilled. There's something else. But then obviously you're going to get like other minor points that people within the black pill community like either agree or disagree with. Like I hear some people say like even if you're like a 6 or a 7 in terms of looks, it's not worth dating, like because it's like the system's still messed up in some sort of way, and then they will reason it like so in whatever they believe in. I don't agree with that, but I think I still believe in the free tenets of the black pill, and so did so will those people. Anyway, I'll get on with the rest of the points to the black pill. So the second point, so the first point is hypergamy, that women only want to date somebody who's equal or more valuable than them. The second point is the importance of looks. So when I'm talking about hypergamy, it's mainly with respect to this idea about looks, that women want to date somebody who's either equal looking to them or better looking to them. And the last point of the black pill is that changing your looks is very, very limited. That there's very little that you can do to change your looks. Most of your looks is to do with your genetic. And I have this acronym. I'm not sure if you've heard of it before. It might have been in one of the videos you said about watching a couple of days ago. It's sub 5, so it means short, ugly, bald, fat, inches, vulnerable, which like is another word for old, pretty much. And somebody also said to include like any mental or physical disabilities within that one too. And the last one is ethnicity. And 6 out of those 7, all of 6 out of 7 of them, apart from fat, obviously, is to do with your genetics. And I believe that those factors, those 7 listed, are the most like deterministic in terms of your looks.
Yeah, and we'll get into that later. But okay, and I want you to finish the third point, the third tenet.
Yeah, so that is, so they're the 3 tenets. So number 1 is hypergamy, that women only want to date equal or up. Second is the importance of looks, and third is that you can't change your looks. Your looks is mostly genetic.
Okay, all right. So there's a fair amount to discuss there, but I want to kind of go through the format. So all right, let me start off with this. So as far as I understand, you're a pretty young guy, right? Like I'm not going to ask you to reveal any personal info, but you're young, right? Is that correct?
Yeah, I'm 20 years old.
Okay, cool. Let me ask you this question: what is your body count?
If I'm honest, like I know a lot of content creators would, have an issue with saying that. Like I honestly don't really care about saying it on streams. I've said it in the past. My body count is 4.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I don't really have an issue if like people know about it.
Okay, fair enough. It's somewhat, I guess that's fair for your age, 20. I'm trying to think what I was. I was probably not too far from there. Okay, so when did you start going down like the black pill route? Like when did you doubt this, the theories that you have?
I found out about the black pill just a little over a year ago.
Okay, so you're pretty new to it. And then
Yeah.
what made you go down this like kind of rabbit hole?
Well, because the content that I was consuming at that time, and all of the time leading up to that point, wasn't like bringing the like outcomes that I would expect it to bring. So like the way that the a lot of the red pill content creators will put it, and a lot of the pickup artist content creators will put it, they will give you a list of like things not to say, and then a list of things to say, and the things that they the things that you're told not to say, these are like considered blue pill teachings, and they say like, oh no, don't do this, like don't message her 30 seconds after she messaged you, like you need to leave it a little bit of time, you need to act more alpha, you need to like pretend that you're a scarce resource and things like this. And I was trying to do that to a large degree, like because at first, like most guys, they do go down the blue pill route of thinking, oh, I just need to like be by her side at all times, I need to show that I'm available, I need to like show that I'm interested, things like that. I tried that, and obviously that didn't work. And then I tried the red pill stuff, the pickup artist stuff, and that still didn't work. And it just wasn't like the conclusions just didn't line up with the premises being outlined, if that makes sense.
It does.
So it just wasn't able to explain all of the outcomes, when in theory the inputs were perfectly aligned, but the outputs weren't lining up with the inputs to any degree.
Yeah, I get you. Right. So it's your kind of like your experiences didn't line up with some of the stuff you were saying. Yeah, it's interesting. I don't know if did you see the video I did on that dude with the really ugly guy with on Reddit who got that bad advice? It was one of my recent videos.
Yeah, I did see it. Yeah, I did. You released it. What was it, like a day or two ago?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it was titled like the worst dating advice from Reddit, and it was, I can't remember if the advice they were giving him was red pill or blue pill.
It was very much blue pill. It's like the epitome of blue pill. So it's pretty funny because the conclusion I made in that video, it's kind of very applicable. Is I was saying like, this guy's getting this horrible feel good blue pill advice. I didn't use the word blue pill, but that's what it was. And what's going to happen is this guy's going to try that advice. It's not going to work, because I know it's not going to work. And then he's going to conclude that game doesn't work, and he's going to become a black pillar. And I predict that's what's going to happen. And it's just interesting to me, because I wonder when you said you tried some of the dating stuff, right? But the stuff you're saying, like say this, don't say that, that's not how really game works. I never teach guys to, say this, don't say that, because that's fucking, that's not going to get you laid. So it's just interesting that I see. I think the dating community sometimes does a disservice because they give shitty advice. And so anyway, we can go down. This kind of leads us to the things that you and I agree on. And one of the things that you and I agree on is most mainstream dating advice is full of shit. So I will grant you that point. I do think that there's a lot of really bad advice in the dating community, both blue pill and pickup community. I think they both have a lot of flaws. So this is one thing that you and I agree on. And stop me at any point if you think that there's something that's worth mentioning. I think the second thing that you and I agree on is that game exists. Now we disagree on how much it matters, but I think that at the very least you think that game exists, which is good because when I was debating MD, he just doesn't think game exists at all. That's fascinating to me how like he doesn't think there's slightly better ways of talking to women, slightly worse ways. Any man who gets into
Can I just respond to that
yeah, of
quickly? I
course.
do
Go
think
ahead.
that game exists, but it's only going to serve relevancy depending on who is using that said game. Because any number multiplied by 0 is 0. And if we say that game is going to be a tool that you can use to increase like the probability of an interaction working out, if a 2 to 3 out of 10 in looks tries to use game, any number multiplied by 0 is 0. So his game isn't going to help him in any of those interactions because they're all going to lead to failure, irrespective of if he has perfect 10 out of 10 game.
So, in your opinion, is any looks under 5 a 0?
I would say that the lowest benchmark is a 4. Like a 4. Like I've seen some like very rare outlying cases of a 4 like who's got who's maxed all of his non-looks related SMV can still be successful in the dating market. But anything below that, like if we go down into like 3 or below, then no way. Like I'll bring up like a chart. It's a bit simplistic, but you might have seen it before. Can you see it on my screen now?
No.
Oh yeah, okay. I need to share the screen with you. Okay. If I just share my screen, share screen there, and we will go here. There. Can you see my screen now?
We got added to the stream, so there we go.
Okay, nice.
Yeah, I've actually seen this chart. It's interesting. I would heavily adjust it, but yeah, I think there's an element of truth here. Again, I would heavily adjust it. So let me ask you this question, a series of questions based on that assumption. So you said that basically anything below a 4 is like you're just a 0 at that point. So how would you explain, because you rated John a 3, so how would you explain his results then?
Right. So the thing with John, first things to point out is number one, he's 6'4" in height, and I do have a another like post in my community tab where I've talked about how your height can affect your SMV, and at 6'4", it's like +2. So
But so
even
then
then,
he
like
wouldn't
he's at
really
least
be
a
a
5 in
3,
terms of
then he would be
SMV.
a 5, right?
He's a 3 facially, no question, but in terms of overall SMV, like his height brings him up to a 5. Like, and so once you take that into account, then I would like that right there. Admittedly, like he does align with the what this chart is stating.
Okay. Well, you said no question. So how do you determine that it's no question? Like what is your like you say you're when you say no question, you mean that it's objective. So how is that determined that he's a 3 facially?
It's just basic like indicators of health and fitness and like genetic like indicators of like potential to like
Because
rear like
my
healthy
contention
offspring.
is that I'm assuming you're 100% straight, right?
Yeah.
Okay, my contention is that a straight guy can't judge another straight guy accurately. Now you can ballpark it for sure, and in order to, I kind of wanted to get some objective data. So what I did was I actually reached out to a few chicks I know who do not know John. I try to make this experiment as objective as possible, where I just said, "What do you think about this guy, 1 through 10?" And so we have. Let me actually pull this up on the screen. 1 second. Share video, share screen. Hold up, Chrome tab.
What you are sharing the screen to me now?
Yeah, well, yeah, so we can see. Okay, is it on the screen?
Yeah, I can see
Okay,
what
cool.
it is.
Okay, cool. So let's get into okay, let's ask. Okay, so this chick, she said he's cute. I don't know, on a scale from 1 to 10. So I'm just waiting for her to respond. I kind of did this all last minute. I probably should have done it a little bit ahead of time. Let's see if she responded yet. Okay, she did. Let me pull this up. But she said, I don't know, weird ask, maybe a 7. So here's another. I'll pull up another chick who actually responded with a number on here. Okay, this chick, I believe, 7. So it seems like, I think that it's up for debate whether he's a 6 or he's an 8. I think we can all agree he's not a 10, and I think we can all agree he's not a 1 or 2. But I think it's the range is clearly between like 5.5 and 8, right? And it seems like two chicks who I know who don't know him at all rated him a 7. So that really begs the credibility of your ability, and it's not just you; it's any straight guy to rate another dude.
Oh, come on. I think it goes without saying that women are nearly always going to give blue pill like lied answers when they're giving a rating from another guy, especially when like if a person like yourself asks like the women in your own social circle, like these women personally, like it's very unlikely that they're going to give like honest answers from that. That's like not even a tenet exclusive to the black pill. Like red pillars and black pill believe that alike, that in this idea of like virtue signaling, that what comes out of women's mouths, like what women say, their words don't equate to their actions. So like if I did this experiment down the street, like if I asked half a dozen different girls, or even more than that, like get the sample up to 50 or 100, if I asked them like how attractive is this guy out of 10, there probably would be quite a few answers that are answering 5, 6, 7, 8. But if you asked them like, oh, would you sleep with this guy, or let's say if he approached those same girls in the bar, how many of them would reject him almost immediately? I'd probably say at least 90% of them.
Yeah, I mean, I would be happy to do that experiment. I think the would you sleep with this guy is a just genuine experiment, because even if they find him attractive, they don't want to seem like a slut. So like you could have a that's I don't think that's a fair experiment. Like, would you sleep with this guy? Because aside from
Yeah,
attractive,
yeah, that's why I did like caveat that a bit. But like, if he actually went and hit on that girl and she rejected him, that implicitly shows that her actions aren't aligning with her words.
well,
Like
it could show. I
men
mean,
see this all of the
it could be
time.
that she has a boyfriend. Could be that she's in a bad mood that day. There's many reasons why you could get rejected. I mean, I've had situations where I got rejected by a chick one day, saw her a few days later, and then I got her number. Right, so it was just like, and sometimes I would even ask chicks. I'd be like, we talked like a week ago. She's like, yeah, I'm sorry, I was just in a really bad mood. So there's a lot of reasons why a girl might reject the guy. I think really I just, to me, it's just like, what is it going to be like? Again, you're a straight guy, right? Like, you're not going for other dudes. I'm not going for other dudes. Like, I think a chick, especially when you ask the question in the right way, when you want to say, hey, this is my good buddy, you just ask, what do you think about this random guy? And you ask them to rate him. I think that's going to be a lot better data than like what other dudes. Because another reason I'm bringing this up is when I was on MD stream, they brought on some dude. He was like I don't know, like a plastic surgery student. I don't fucking know. And he basically rated me a 5. Well, fine. I don't take any offense to that, but like that's not really accurate. Like, I would put myself at a 6.57 territory. Now you can debate whether I'm a 6 or I'm a 7.5. I don't think anyone will put me above an 8, but I can't imagine anyone putting me below a 5.5 either, like in terms of chicks at least. So it's just, I see this like dudes rating other dudes, and almost always the results don't align with what actually chicks think. And this is one of the points of contention I have with the black pill community, is that I see it almost as like an echo chamber where like, and I'll give you props for going out, but a lot of these guys, they don't go out. They just kind of repeat their theories to each other, and then just becomes this echo chamber where they're not putting their results and testing them in the real world. So that's kind of my point of contention there.
I think that's like a massively contestable point, because in almost all of my experiences, when like I've seen guys who are either like up the look scale or down the look scale, like I can predict what's going to happen, like just based off their appearance alone. And like an example happened literally a couple of weeks ago. I was at this party with a girl, like I'm at college at the moment, that I've been like dating for a while. And she, as soon as like we got there, like we meted and greeted like everyone, and then I started talking to another girl, and like I had my back turned to the girl I'm dating at the moment. And then about 20 minutes into the conversation, like she like taps me on the girl that I'm talking to at the moment, the one that I'm having a conversation with. She says, "Hey, wait, you know the girl that you're dating at the moment. She's like over there talking to 4 other guys right now." And I was like, "Oh, really?" Like, and I had a look around, and all 4 of them were like at best a 4 in looks at best. And like I turned back to the conversation that I was having in that moment of time, and I said, "Oh, they're all really unattractive. They're not on my level. Like I don't have anything to worry about." And what happened? It was hilarious. Like I couldn't believe the accuracy of it. As soon as we left the party, me and the girl that I'm dating at the moment, she said, "Sam, sorry, wait." Everyone already knows my name anyway, so it's fine. All of those guys that were talking to me, they were all really unattractive. That was the first thing that she said, like to me as we left the party. Like, and I just couldn't believe it. Like I've seen it so many times. I've seen it the other way as well along the line. Like if an attractive guy is at the party, then he'll just have like women throwing themselves like at him, like at the party. It's just crazy, like the way it works. Like the accuracy is like so strong.
I'll still call you Wheat out of respect, but unless you want to call you by your real name. But have you ever heard of the confirmation bias?
Yes, I have. It means that like the beliefs that you already have.
You're looking. I'll explain it for the audience in case someone doesn't know. Yeah, it's basically you said it well. It's like when you have a theory, you're looking for things to confirm. And I see this all the time in the Redpill community. Like Rolo does this all the time. He's like, well, look at this thing that happened the other day. It just confirms my theory. But his theory is like, I'm just listening to his theory. It's fucking total horseshit. So I see a lot of confirmation bias, and I'm guilty of it to some extent myself. We're all guilty of confirmation bias. We're looking for things in support of our experience. For example, in terms of your situation at the party, it could be any number of factors. Yes, could be, like you said, it's a plausible theory that you're better looking than those guys and you were the best option for her. Or it could be that you got yourself a loyal girl and she doesn't want to, embarrass herself in front of a guy that she likes. And thus she decides not to fucking go home with a random guy, which is also a pretty reasonable theory. It could be that, for example, that she didn't really like any of those guys in terms of their personality. They all, were too aggressive or too meek or whatever. So it could be any number of reasons why that chick didn't bang one of those guys, right? And again, I understand, like, your theory is that, okay, looks, I'm better looking than those guys. But there's other reasons why it could have happened. So that's kind of my take on that. I'll let you respond to that before we move on to the other point.
Yeah, well, I don't have really anything to respond to that. Like, I understand that point, yeah. It is like a promising like point that you're saying, but like I disagree with that.
Yeah. It can't be my game. It can't be
no, is it like, yeah, no, but isn't, no, like, I know what you're saying, like, but I've already, made my point in the first one. Like, I'd only be repeating myself if I responded to that.
Fair enough. Let me bring this up. Are you familiar with my business partner, Indian P?
No, I'm not.
Let me pull him up because it's going to be very relevant. Let's share my debate stuff. I'm surprised I didn't call it debate shit. All right, so let's pull up my business partner. So this is before and after, and I was going to use this to make a point later on about like transformations. But let's do this. So can you rate him before and rate him after? I want to get your honest take on it.
Can you try zooming into the photo a bit? It's quite difficult to see his face.
Yeah. Is this better?
It was a little bit better when you zoomed in a fraction more.
Let me go. Oh. Okay. Is that good?
Yeah, there we go. Okay. In the left, he's about a Norwood 4/5, and that's really impacting his looks. In the next video that I have coming out in a couple days time, I've actually like gathered data. Like, I'm not sure if you're aware, but I have like a rating service, like I do, business on the side, yeah. And like I compiled the data of like 1,000 different guys. Like I took in all of their body fat percentages, their heights, their age category, how much they're balding and things like that. And I actually found from that data that if you're anything like past if you're like a Norwood 4 or a Norwood 5, such as the guy on the left, that actually makes you lose more points than if you shave it completely off.
No, I would agree with that.
Yeah, like and a lot of people have said that in the past, that if you're like mostly balding and you just got a few different fibers like on the top, rather than try to cling onto those hairs, then you should like just shave it all off. And I think people can definitely.
I think pretty much any chick and anyone who knows like this kind of stuff would agree with you on that. Yeah, I would completely agree with you on that. I would say, just to quickly add on that, like for hair loss, if it's at a point where it can be saved, You can try to save it. Like me, I'm going to document my whole thing, but I'm doing exosomes. I just did my second injection a few days ago. So I'm already had, people tell me that I'm gaining more hair and like little fibers. So I got my third injection in a month. I'm going to document that whole thing. If that doesn't work for any reason, I'm going to get a hair transplant. But I'm not at a point where it's like a lost cause. But like, yeah, for him, it's at a point where it is kind of a lost cause. So at that point, shave it off. But that's a completely different aside. But anyway, so let's get back to this. What would you rate him overall?
Okay, so on the left-hand side, at best, he's a 3. Like,
Okay.
yeah, like the Norwoods, his frame is like looks really thin. Like it's a good job that he's eating that omelet or whatever it is in that photo because it looks like he needs it in that one.
Well, he is in India, so
Yeah. And then in the right picture, I'd say he's got himself up to at least a 5. Like I think it would be disingenuous for anyone to rate him anything lower than that. Like obviously, a lot of people in the Blackpill community think that ethnicity is like a big factor, but I kind of like take those like factors in separately. Like if we're taking just face into account here, I'd
just
put him in like the
overall,
mid to like high 5 range on the just facially on the right. Overall SMV about a 5, but I'm not sure on how tall he is. So if he's like
5'11",
yeah, if he was like 5'6", then it would be a completely different question. But at 5'11", like 5'11", like just about above average face. Yeah, I'd say, and he's like groomed well, like styled correctly. Yeah, he's definitely above average in the right hand photo.
Okay, so he improved himself by 2.5 points. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, I mean that's so okay. So he falls into your zone where pickup can work, but then doesn't that kind of disprove your other point that you can't really do much? That your looks are determined by genetics. Like if he improved himself by 2.5 points, that's like fairly substantial, is it not?
Yeah, I would say that it's like quite a noticeable difference, but it depends on where you're coming from as well. Like, so if you're either overweight or you're exceptionally skinny, and such as this example we have here, and he's got a half balding head, there's quite a lot of things that he could fix up there to improve his attractiveness. Meanwhile, other guys, I've seen them who are like already a 3, and they've done most of the things that they can do in terms of looks maxing. And then they can't reach a 5. They literally can't because they've already done everything that they can. Like the way I like to put it is that not looks maxing can cost you 2 to 3 points, but looks maxing in itself is only going to get you like 1 or 1.5 points or so. Because like here's an example. So like a very bad haircut can easily cost you like 2-3 points. But going from like a normal haircut to an like a good haircut, how much points is it going to give you? Like maybe half a point, if that. Like it's not really much of a difference, if you know what I mean.
So you're saying if you have a normal haircut and you go to a good haircut, that will give you maybe half a point. But if you have a bad haircut, like I would say a lot of guys do, that can get you like a point, 0.5. Is that correct?
Yeah. So it can really, like the points can really start to be deducted if you don't look max.
Okay, so there's still okay, so you're saying for the average guy, for the guy that's averagely looks maxed, there's maybe a point of gain, but for a guy that's negatively, inversely looks like opposite of looks maxing, looks down, then he can gain 2.5 points. Correct?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, it's all about where you're coming from. Like I think it goes without saying that like an overweight guy, if he lost all of his weight, like you can easily see examples of men going from a 3 to a 6 to a 7 in those departments. But if a guy who's already like average build, like improves his physique and gets jacked, if he's a 3 at that moment in time, like his face is still going to be quite bad because he's already low body fat percentage. In like at his current level, he's maybe going to get up to a 4. Like at best, he's going to get to a 5. He doesn't have the same level of potential as the overweight guy of getting to a 6 or a 7.
I would agree with your point, honestly. I do think there's a cap on what you can do purely in terms of looks maxing. So, for example, yes, if a guy is starting at like a 2, he's not going to get to a 6, right? Purely from look stuff. So I would agree with that point. I think I would disagree with you about on a point. I think a guy who's average, who's at a 3, can get to a 5. You would probably say you get to a 4. I would say you probably get to a 5 because I think muscle makes more of a difference than you do. But at the end of the day, it's an opinion and we're arguing about scraps. So I'm not going to make that point of contention. Okay,
Well,
so
I've got the actual data on that. Like, I don't really want to reveal the data for my next video like too early, but I might as well use the actual data while I have it at hand. But in the spreadsheet, which I've documented over 1,000 guys' body physiques, I found that the average guy is a 5 that I've rated, and if you're overweight, it subtracts minus 1.3 points. So the average overweight guy is a 3.7. Meanwhile, the average jacked guy is a 6. So the
Right,
difference
but
between going
that's
from
purely according to your rating system, right?
it's according to my rating system. So
Right.
there is an element of subjectivity there. Like there is an element of like who's actually buying these ratings. Is it people that have already looked max to a large degree? Like they're people from my community. Like is there a difference between them and people in the global sample? But if we put all of that to one side and we assume that it is accurate, like it's an
That is a
example of,
big assumption. That is a big assumption. That is, I would probably argue with that. But okay, let's just, for the sake of argument, let's assume that it is accurate.
well, I think based on like the data, like it does kind of align with what you'd expect. Like it's not a polar opposite where like we've seen that jacked guys aren't any different from average looking guys, aren't any different from overweight guys. Like we see a quite a difference, but not like a monumental difference between
I don't think
a 3.7.
yeah, I don't think you're completely off. I mean, otherwise you'd have to be like retarded or something, or just complete ideologue. I don't think you're completely off, but I do see some discrepancy in your data. Like again, going back to rating John a 3, where several girls rated him a 7, and you can argue that maybe they rated him an extra point extra, but I still see that as a substantial difference. So I'll be honest, I'm not sold on your rating system. I don't think you're completely going to be off, and you're going to say that jack guys are the same as average guys, but it is your perspective, your subjective opinion based on your life experiences. And I mean this with no offense, but you are still very young. You're 20 years old. Like maybe your opinion will change largely when you're 30, and I can tell you that my opinion definitely changed between when I was 20 and 30. Again, I'm not trying to like use age as an argument and say, oh, it doesn't mean shit because you're young. I'm just making that point that your opinion could definitely change on that as you get more, another decade of life experiences.
Well, when it comes to this thing about attractiveness, like the truth is always revealed in the actual like real life, the real world. Like and there's so many guys in this community, like people who run other channels. They've actually like made experiments where like they've taken photos of random guys to find out if he's attractive or not. And the best, in my opinion, one of the best ways of doing that is finding out how many matches he gets on a daily basis. And like people who are about a 5 or a 6, they would get a handful of matches per day at most. Meanwhile, the guys at the top of the pyramid, the like real 7s, 8s, and 9s, they're getting like 10, 20 matches per day. Meanwhile, the guys at the very bottom, they're getting no matches per day. Like, and when I'm seeing a person like John Anthony, like somebody could maybe do a Tinder experiment, like who's watching this video, like who has a channel with their own. If they did a experiment using his photos, like I can say with very good certainty that at best he'd get like a couple matches per day. Like his best chance is putting his height in his bio and then just getting matches from that. Like there's going to be women that swipe right just because when they see 6'4", but if he didn't have that, then and he was like 5'10" or even lower than that, then he would at best get like 1 or 2 matches per day.
Well,
that's a stretch.
Height is a part of your looks. I will say this though, we've kind of talked about this a lot on my channel. A lot of chicks, when they don't find you attractive, they don't read the bio. If they don't think you're attractive, they don't even bother reading the bio. They just swipe left, like literally on the first picture. I'd be happy to do that experiment if John consents to it. I know he has Tinder. Now you might invalidate his results because he lives in Brazil, but he does get pretty good amount of likes and matches. So I know he gets like dozens of them. I would be happy to do this experiment in America, which again, I'm pretty sure he's been on dating apps in America because he has lived here for an extensive period of time. I don't know exactly what he was getting, but it was definitely not like 1 or 2. But yeah, we can do this experiment.
I do have a couple points on that. Okay. I remember like it was a very recent video that you made that you said that like Tinder's a lot different now. Like the competition has exploded massively in the last 2 years. So like even if you was like a 5 or a 6 5 years ago, then that could usually like get you a decent level of matches. But nowadays, like if you're not like a top 10% guy, then it's like you're in a very difficult spot. Like I actually want to talk about online dating, like for quite a big
Yeah, sure.
portion of this discussion.
I was gonna. Yeah, don't worry. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'll bring you
because I made a
absolutely.
video on that
Yeah, yeah,
recently, and I
and
know that.
I saw your video and actually went through it, and I actually wrote out points. So don't worry. Yeah, we'll get to it. I'll just kind of go through it like one at a time. But yeah, we'll definitely get through it. Uh, Okay, so last question on this. So you would not. The initial point I was going to bring this up is because I had a feeling you were going to say that he's below 5, and I was going to use that as an argument to say, but like he gets laid, and then I have proof that he gets laid. But you're saying okay, but I can see that because he's above 5, so I can see him getting laid, right?
Yeah, like this isn't like any rejection of the black pill. It's like a massive proof of it, because the guy on the left is not at a 5, and I very much doubt that he's like getting any results when he was the person on the left. But
No,
now
he wasn't. Yeah.
he's above a 5, the person on the right. Now he, like, I'm guessing, you was going to say that he is getting some results.
He's getting a good amount of results. I mean, I hear the noises coming from the other room every night. So okay, but if you're not contending that, then there's really not much in that. So let me pull this down, and then we'll move on to the next point. Because MD Dictionary was contending the fact that my roommate even gets laid. So I spent like 20 minutes looking up examples of him with chicks, blah 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 blah. But if you're not contending that, then there's no point. All right, so let me just quickly finish going through the points that we agree on, then we'll get into all the good stuff. So another thing I agreed with you on is when you said any man who gets into a relationship with money as the main, attraction source is doomed to fail. I agree with that. I think that's a good point. Okay, most mainstream dating advice is bullshit. I agreed with that. Media encourages simping. I agree with that. And now this is getting into the online stuff. So this is where we can get spicy. So you said online dating is rigged. So I actually agreed with that point. I do think online dating is rigged. I don't know if you saw the experiment we did, and it was we created a profile I'll share with the audience, as a hot chick and an average chick, right? So the hot chick got 1,000 likes in 24 hours. The average chick, and people accused me of picking a girl that was above average. I actually thought she was below average. I would never swipe right on her. The average chick got 500 likes in 24 hours. Then we did this experiment with guys.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me just repeat it for the
you go
audience in
ahead.
case someone didn't see it. Then the hot guy, or no homo, the really good looking guy, I think we can all agree he's really good looking, got something like 140 likes in 24 hours. And the average guy, and some people accuse me of picking a guy who's like a little bit above average. Maybe he was a 6.
No, he was like well above average. Like, it was literally, I could bring up the video now. Like, I'd say like over half the comments were just the same thing. It was saying, this guy, no way is he an average looking guy. He's clearly above average. Because the reality is, if you did pick a genuinely like average looking guy, he would get no matches, or at best like a couple matches. Like, obviously, because once you first create a profile, like the algorithm's fresh and you're a new profile, you get shoved to the top of the card stack. But if he had his profile running for like a few days, like he would be just like left straight to the dregs. Like, that was the reality of that video that you made. Like, the guy that you used as the so-called average looking guy, no way was he like average. Like, it was just every other comment was saying that he's above average.
Okay, I'm not even going to necessarily debate that. Again, going back to my point that as a straight guy, I can't really too accurately gauge another dude. So I think that I should probably recreate the experiment. What I'll do this time is I'll literally reach out to a bunch of chicks and I'll send them a bunch of dudes. I'll be like, rate this guy, rate this guy, rate this guy, and I'll find a guy where the consensus is a 5, and then I might even like reach out to you, and then you can see if you agree and disagree with me. We can recreate that experiment. But anyway, that's outside the point, because the point I was trying to make is even the, let's call him above average guy, he got 40 likes or something like that in 24 hours. So obviously, the average chick did a lot better than the quote unquote hot guy, right? So I agree with you that the dating marketplace, that Tinder is rigged. There's more dudes on there, blah, blah, blah. So there's not a point of contention there. What I disagreed with is your conclusion. And your conclusion was, because the game is rigged, guys should avoid dating apps. That's what I very much fundamentally disagree with. And let me kind of outline why I disagree with that. Even if the game is rigged, what is your sunk cost? What are you investing in it? If you're just basically creating a profile and you're paying like $20, $30 a month, which is to a guy who has a decent income, is like nothing. Like, to me, $30 a month is like, it's a joke. Like, I don't give a shit about it. Most guys, like anyone who has like a decent job, it's a joke. And let's say because the game is rigged, you're getting laid twice a month, right? Which is really not that much. That's still better than 0 a month. Now you can make the second argument that you're playing into, this whole entitlement culture that chicks have, and that might even be a fair point. But what you got to realize is that just because you stay out of the game, everyone else around you is still going to play the game. So unless you can get every single guy in your city to get off dating apps, you're not going to make any kind of difference. All you're going to do is miss out yourself. It's like when when they have protests, like, and they're like, yeah, we're gonna, like, fuck this company, we're not gonna use them, but it's only like 100 people doing that. Unless you get every person or most people who buy from that company to stay away, which you're not going to get because most people are not going to watch this channel, then you're going to make no difference in the end, and you're just going to miss out yourself. So that's kind of my take on that. I'll let you refute that.
I don't see why, like, out of the three environments to go for, like online, warm, and cold, like online, it's just the way I'm like evaluating it, like listing the positives and negatives. It's by far the worst. Like, it's no question about it. If you're not a top like 15-20% guy, or even in my video, like I outlined, it's like more strict than that. Only the top 10% is better off. If you're not a top 10% guy, then the odds are stacked against you.
Yes.
Online dating only benefits two groups: 100% of women and 10% of guys. That's it. If you're in the bottom 90% of guys, you're in a disadvantage. And I've shown in my video that and it's because of the outnumbering. That if you're in, and because most women only swipe right on the top tier guys, and if you're a 10 to 20% guy, so this is like a 1 in 5 guy, you're still at a disadvantage because the ratio, even at that level, is 3 for 2. There's 3 guys competing for every 2 girls, and the point you're having to date down, even at that level, is massive. Like, because you're competing for like the 3s and 4s tier women. Meanwhile, if you're a 10 to 20% guy, you're probably in like the 7 sort of looks range. Like, the main reason I don't like these dating apps is because both the quality is bad and the quantity is bad. Like, they're both shocking. Like, most people can agree with that. Like, most of the matches that you get, like as an average guy on Tinder, are going to be well subpar, well below your looks level. But it's just like not even a fair contest, because those women that you're matching with who are well below your own looks level, they are getting like 10, 20, 30 more matches than you. That's just how unfair it is, like, for any guy who's not in the top 10%.
Okay, so let me ask you this question: would you put me in the top 10%?
No.
Okay.
I would put you in about like probably the 40 to 30% range.
Okay.
And I got a feeling I know what you're going to say.
Yeah, you know where I'm going. So,
I know where you're going with this. Like, I've seen your photos. Like, I've seen your videos about your own Tinder profile. Like, I'm not, I'm not trying to be harsh here, but the photos that you use on your profile, like, don't resemble the way you look in real life, like, to a huge degree. Like, they have been like quite edited. Like, even the photo that I think you've used for the thumbnail of this, like, I think that's one of your Tinder photos that you use. Like, it does, like, there is a substantial difference between how you look in real life and in the photos that you use in your online profile.
So that's right. There's a difference. I wouldn't say it's super substantial, but again, we're arguing about scraps. But there's a difference. I agree with you on that, and that's a good thing. So that's one of the big things I teach as a guy. It's not the editing. Just to give you an idea, it's not because the photo is heavily edited. I don't actually heavily edit any of my photos. It's largely because good angles and good lighting. And this is something that chicks have been doing for decades. Chicks know the power of angles and lighting. Like, with angles and lighting, you can make anyone look better. And that's exactly, as a guy, what you want to do to compete with the marketplace. So of course I look better in my photos than I do in real life. But yeah, that's what you want to do as a guy to be competitive in the dating marketplace. Now, I would say the point is actually that I want to make a different point.
Just wait, just hold on a second. Like, I'm looking at the photo that you've used for the thumbnail now. Your hairline is like substantially better in the photo that's been edited than like what I'm seeing on camera right now.
Well, that picture, keep in mind, that picture is from 3 years ago, so it wasn't edited. It was just that I had better hair 3 years ago.
Yeah, so you're using photos that are like 3 to 4 years older than.
No, not all of them.
Like,
I have a lot of photos from the last year, but that one specifically that I used for the thumbnail. But go ahead.
Yeah, that was the only point that I had to say. Like I'd say in the photo that you use for the thumbnail of the video, a girl looking at that would probably you're probably like a 7. but like on camera, like you're about a 5.5. That would be like my take.
Right. But so as a guy, that's what you want to do. Like you want to have photos where you look better than you do in real life because that's what chicks are doing. Like that is exactly a point in my favor. Like that is what you want to do.
No, but
To
the issue with that, like even if you do fraud your photos, a lot of women are going to be heavily put off, like upon meeting you, like for the date. Like I've seen so many stories of women posting this on Reddit. Like they will say a guy turned up to a date. He looked like hardly like the guy in his photos. He was a good 3-4 inches shorter. Like you get guys out there who are 5'9" and they're putting 6 foot in their bios, and a lot of this is because they're learning it from YouTubers. I'm not sure if that's an advice that you recommend yourself, like lying about your height to that degree, but
I
definitely
saw.
some coaches out there, like I've seen that they say, oh yeah, just bump yourself up by a couple inches. Like if you're 5'9", 5'10", round
Yeah,
up to 6 foot, like you might as
yeah.
well. I'm not sure if you agree with that as well, but
No, I do.
it gets to
I
the point where if you lie about yourself like too much, either in terms of your facial structure or your height, then women are going to be put off by that, like on a date. So it might get you dates, but those dates have been finished before they've even started, because as soon as the woman sees you, like she's already being like, oh, this is another guy who's, frauded his height, frauded his facial structure, whatever.
So let me address these one at a time. So you asked, do you encourage that? So I agree. I agree in the sense that there are small lies and there are substantial lies. So I never recommend guys lying about 4 inches, but I do recommend guys bumping it up by an inch or two. So if you're 5'10", say you're 5'11" or 6 feet, but don't do that if you're 5'8". That's the first point. Like me
Yeah, I'd
personally,
recommend that too. Like, sorry, I just want to say that, like, I agree with that too, just so the audience knows where I'm coming from. Like, if you're 5'11", I don't think there's an issue of rounding up to 6 foot.
right.
Yeah,
Okay,
especially
cool.
if you wear shoes. Like, a woman who's 5'3", no way is she going to be able to tell the difference.
Yeah,
But yeah, carry on.
but so the second point is, you said that oh, but chicks are gonna blah blah blah. I can't recall a time where I ever had a chick. I don't bang every single chick I meet up with. I'll be honest, but a lot of that, the reason I don't bang some chicks, but it's at least 60 to 70% of chicks I meet off from dating apps. I wanted sleeping with them on the first night. So clearly, like, I am still acceptable, quote unquote, to the majority of chicks. And the chicks that I don't bang on the first night, sometimes I bang them on the second date. And sometimes it's because they're kind of conservative. Sometimes they're just annoying and I just choose not to bang them. But it's well over half of the chicks that I meet that I bang on the first date from dating apps. So the initial point that I want to make is you put me at 5.5 in real life, a 7 in the photos. Either way, I'm not in the top 10%, right? So for me, according to this logic, online dating apps would be useless. Yet I've banged, I don't know, hundreds of chicks from dating apps, and I have all the proof to show it. So why would I be better off not using dating apps? That's my question.
I remember you saying, it might have been, in fact, like your most recent video, uh, that, like, you even said yourself that, like, the golden age of Tinder, like, is over
Sure.
now.
Yeah,
That
I
it's
agree.
significantly harder, and
Yeah.
even if you're using the same photos, like your results, like you said yourself in that video, that your results are diminishing, like day after day after day. Like, um, bearing in mind this is also like anecdotal. Like I'm just looking at the live chat on what I'm coming through on my feed. It's just like stop the cat, stop the cat. This is lies. This is no
Okay,
way believable. Like,
this is all easily verified. Go to playingfire.com, love reports, and you can see all this stuff from start to finish. So I provide more proof than pretty much most people in the dating community or any other community. So it's all
would it
pretty.
not be within your interest to lie about your results in order to sell courses?
So is
This is
that your
what a
point?
lot of
Is that your point of contention that I'm lying about my results?
it's most definitely a point that's shown truth in the past. Like there's been plenty of like red pill dating coaches out there who
Sure.
have like lied about their results and have been exposed, like because of that. Like they've been shown to be a fraud, that their results don't live up to like what they're claiming to in their videos. And one of the main motives for that is because they want to like sell as many of their programs as possible. So
Yeah,
it's not like
but
a
I've been
key
doing
point of
this.
contention. Yeah,
Yeah,
but like
I've been doing this for about 4 years. There has never been one video calling me out. No one's ever called me in a lie. That's simply because I don't lie. That's how I run my business. I'm a big believer in that. it's a slippery slope once you start lying or exaggerating. And so I've never done it. And I told my whole team, like, we've had situations in the past where someone said, oh, well, this chick gave me a hand job. It was pretty close to sex. Can I use it as a layer point? I'm like, no, you can't. So I never lie about my results, nor would I. And
It
I'm
just
pretty
seems
honest.
a bit
Like,
suspicious that like you think it's okay to lie about your height by a couple inches, lie about your photos, by bumping them up a little bit better, but then you're all against lying about your results on your business.
because
Like it just seems like a bit of a contradiction. It just seems to
no.
me.
Let me answer that. So I see there's substantial lies and there's white lies, right? So I have no problem. Like, it's when my girlfriend's like, she ate a lot of food and she's like, hey, do I look a little chubby? That's gonna be a white lie where I'm like, nah, babe, you look hot as fuck, right? Or she's like a little bloated or something like that. Um, or something like that. And then I see substantial lies. So I see lying because I do have a course and people are trusting me. I see that as a substantial lie. So if I lie about my results and someone buys from me, and that is a substantial lie. And I've called out other YouTubers for doing that. I've called out Fresh and Fit many times about lying for their results and doing that. So I've called out a lot of other people for doing that, but I would not do that myself because that's a substantial lie. Nor would I tell a substantial lie to a girl. So I would never be like, the girl asked me like, oh, so you're going to date me, right? Like, we're going to get into a relationship. I would never be like, yes, because that's a substantial lie. I would not say if I had a client who's 5'6", I would not tell him to say 6 foot because that's a substantial lie. But I have no problem with little white lies. So that's kind of where I draw the line on that. But I want to return to the initial question is that, again, like so you said that the dating apps are getting harder, which we both agree on. But I still, what was it, 2, 3 weeks ago, I still banged a pretty hot chick from Tinder, right? So even though it is getting harder, and I would say it's not as easy as it was for me 3 years ago, still, even if I can bang, let's say, even being extremely conservative, I bang one new cute chick a month from Tinder. That's still better than 0 cute chicks a month from Tinder. Would you not agree with that?
Yeah, like that doesn't make sense. But like in terms of like what's the term that I'm looking for? It's cost, like it's opportunity costs. Like I think that the risk reward on Tinder is so low. Like the juice just no way is worth the squeeze if you're
But what is the
like,
risk? That's what I don't get.
well, there isn't necessarily a risk, but the opportunity cost is there. Like if guys can spend hours and hours swiping, sending messages out. Like the vast majority of them end up like leading to flakes or like don't materialize into anything. I think that time,
Mm,
even if you're an average guy, like it will probably be better spent like trying to maximize your results in a warm environment or a cold
oh,
environment. Like in all of my situations, like if I totted up the number of hours I've spent in each environment and like divided that by like the number of results I've got in each of them, by far like cold and warm would have like they would be much more efficient uses of time than compared with online. Like online is just so time consuming and the results aren't worth the time that you're spending on top of the like abysmal quality that you see on dating apps as well. Like, but that's a whole different point. Like the quality on dating apps is shocking. Like it's no question. The like in one of my recent videos, like I said that the three main factors of a high quality woman to date long term is how hot she is, how young she is, and how like pure she is. Well, I use like the term undamaged, but like I don't really want to be using that term anymore because of the algorithm. But and all
You,
three of
you, you can say whatever you want on the stream. I don't give a fuck about that. I know a lot of
yeah,
YouTubers are like trying to cater to the algorithm. I don't give a rat's ass. You can say whatever.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, that's besides the point. But like the quality is far worse. Like in all three of those departments on online dating, I think like the quality and quantity of time, like the quality and quantity of women that you're going to be able to date in the other two environments is far superior than what you're going to be able to get in online. And that's
Okay.
my point.
So I think the first point you brought up is return on investment. So you're saying that, for example, if you're spending 20 hours, it takes you 20 hours to bang a chick from online, but it takes you 5 hours from cold approach, and then cold approach is a better avenue. You're making the ROI argument, which I'm actually a huge believer in, like using your time wisely and having a good return on investment. So this is why I do not advocate sitting around and swiping all day. That's, in my opinion, a waste of time. So you can get Tinder Gold. It costs $30 a month. Again, if you are even, unless you're completely broke, that should be like an inconsequential sum of money, and it shows you all the girls who already like you. So, for example, me personally, I'm almost never swiping on dating apps. I'm just once every 2 days or so, like when I have some free time, and it's usually not even like I'm taking time out of my day. It's usually when I'm like taking a shit or I'm stuck in traffic or I'm waiting in line or something like that. I pop open, I see, okay, 20 chicks like me, 8 or 9 of those are attractive. Pick those, set mass, send out an opener.
Wait, sorry, say that again. How many would be attractive out of the number of women?
Oh, it's gonna be you and I agree on this point. There's no disagreement there. It's gonna be less than 10. It's gonna be maybe 30%. I actually did this experiment. It's 1 out of 3 chicks I would find attractive that like me.
Well, I would say the number's a lot lower than that. Like,
You gotta
even
keep in
like
mind
myself,
you live in
even
England.
myself, just swiping, like ignoring like the ones that swipe back on me. Like when I'm swiping on Tinder, like I would say at most like 1 in 5. Like it's
Right, but
the number's probably closer to 1 in 10. Like is actually attractive.
you gotta
Like
keep
once
in
you
mind.
get past the first like 10 swipes, they're just giving you like all of the dregs at that point. It's just really unattractive women.
You got to keep in mind, you live in England. I live in Miami, so the chicks on average are a lot hotter in Miami. If you put it in like Eastern Europe or something like that, like Poland, it'll be like the ratio will be even better. It'll be like 1 out of 2. So it heavily matters on where you are. I'm in a
The
better
obesity
location.
rate is well higher in America than it is in the UK.
No one's
What other
disagreeing.
factors?
No
What
one,
other
no one's
factors could make the women hotter in Miami than in the UK? Like other than like if if we're putting a like body fat percentage aside.
I mean, dude, like this is where all the hot chicks go, Miami and LA. Like literally in Miami, you're not going to see that many fat chicks. You're going to see a lot of fucking really hot chicks with fake tits and blah blah blah. Like this is, I mean, I don't even understand how that's a point of contention. Like Miami and LA is known for having hot chicks. So is Warsaw, and so is Ukraine and stuff like that. Those are the places where hot chicks go. Like if you doubt me on this, you can put your profile on Miami and see the difference. Again, that's just just a difference in where we live. Miami is not even the hottest in terms of like percentages. Like again, Eastern Europe is going to have a hotter percentage of chicks. I mean, that just kind of is what it is.
Well, I've not been to any of those places, so I wouldn't be able to like raise any points on that. But like,
You can set
clearly
you can set your Tinder to there and just fuck around. I mean, you can kind of do. We did this experiment actually about a year ago. We set our Tinder to various cities around the world, and we measured one, how many likes we got, and two, what percentage of those chicks do we find attractive. And yeah, like Miami is going to be definitely have more hot chicks than I don't know anyone who's been to England and been to Miami and said chicks are hotter in England. That's why I'm going back. I mean, that's just not what it is. I mean, you guys got Kezia Noble. That's about the extent of it. No offense to the British chicks, but yeah, that kind of is what it is. Okay, so I'm trying to think feel like we kind of beat this horse to death. Anyway, like just to kind of reiterate my point, I am a big believer in using your time wisely, and I do agree with you that the dating game is stacked. The difference is that I still think you should play the game, because if you spend $30 a month in like 2 hours, and even if that gets you one chick a month, that's still going to be a better use of your time, especially if you're good at using your time. Like I would never recommend to a client to Friday, 8 p.m. You can either go out or you can swipe on Tinder, stay home and swipe on Tinder. No, like do your swiping when you're killing time, like or not even swiping, you're messaging, because you're out Tinder Gold. Use it when you're fucking taking his shit. Use it when you're waiting in line. Like everyone has hours of day that we kill where we have nothing to do, instead of surfing Instagram or whatever, fucking just trolling Twitter or doing all that shit. Get your messaging in. So use your time effectively, and then go out as well. So I'm a big believer that you should diversify. Go out, do cold approach, try to meet girls through whatever your social circle if you have one, but do dating apps as well. That's kind of my point there.
Yeah, I agree with that. But this is kind of like an extension from this point. It's not the same thing about online dating, but I think it is relevant because I hear this point massively contested amongst quite a lot of the Red Pill PUA coaches. So what's your opinion on maximizing your SMV first and then looking to date second? Or do you think that any guy should just like take where they stand at this current moment in time and then just jump straight in the deep end, even if you're like not particularly high value at that point?
Yeah, I've heard you raise that point before. So I have a little bit more of a nuanced take. I say do both because it takes time to maximize your SMV, and I would say like, look, there's some stuff that's pretty fast, like getting your haircut, like if you're balding, going bald, fixing your style, that stuff can be done in a week or two. So for the easy stuff, yeah, do that first. But some stuff like putting on muscle, if you're too skinny or too fat, that's going to take a little bit of time. So I would say do both. It's not like I see this a lot in the pickup community and the red pill, black pill community. They make it seem like it's one or the other, right? Assuming you don't work a 90-hour day job, which most people don't, like you work a normal job, you can easily do both. So that's kind of my answer on that.
Yeah, yeah. It does depend on like somebody's individual circumstances. Like some people are going to have the time to do both. Other people aren't going to have the time to do both. Like it depends where you are. And even
If
if you do have the time to do both, like so, let's say if a guy has a job and then he's also going to the gym to improve his physical side, like he then like maybe has time for one other thing during the week. Like is he trying to start a side hustle like to build another source of income to maybe like build his financial side, or should he instead spend that time cold approaching women, or like spending time on dating apps or whatever like that?
Yeah, a lot of guys are really bad at multitasking. I see this quite often, even with my clients. They'll be like, "Oh, but Alex, like I can go to the gym or I can, work on my business." Like I think Arnold Schwarzenegger is a good example of this. That's why I'm a big fan of his. If you read his autobiography, he talks about how he was working on a professional bodybuilder, going to college, going to acting school. He had his business, he was still going out with his friends. He was still picking up chicks. Right? It's just a lot of people, especially nowadays, waste a lot of time on social media and a lot of nonsense, and are really bad at multitasking. Like me personally, again, I spend a lot of time playing with fire, answer all your questions, answering emails, creating content, running the business, doing strategy, doing marketing, doing all this stuff. Still go to the gym often, still have time to go out with my friends, still go on dates, still do dating apps, still have time for my family and friends, which I actually spend a lot of time on. I still have time for hobbies. So again, it's just I don't waste my time on stupid shit like a lot of people do. I mean, I waste sometimes I do, but I try to be pretty good about it. I still read and all that stuff, and I'm not even that great. I know a lot of people who are way better than me. I know people who have multiple businesses, and I'm like, dude, how do you have time to run 3 businesses and you're still going out and drinking with me? They're like, dude, I just I multitask. Like I do multiple shit at once. So I think that there's very few people who can't for legitimate reasons do all these things. I don't think these things are that hard to juggle. Going to the gym, spending a little bit of time on dating apps, going out with your friends, running your business, maybe even starting a side hustle. That's easily doable for the vast majority of guys. I just think most people are so bad at multitasking and they waste their time on stupid shit. They watch TV or they, jerk off to porn or they do a lot of stupid shit, which waste their time. And then their whole day is come and they're like, oh, I don't have time for anything.
Yeah, yeah, 100% agree with that. Like a lot of guys aren't efficient with their time, and if they are efficient with their time, they would be able to juggle like everything a lot more effectively. But the only reason I like did raise that point is because again, like it goes back to the like inherent trustability of a lot of dating coaches out there. Because I remember one dating coach, I'm not going to name his name, but he said like when he was posed that question, he said, "Oh no, you should still like enroll in my course. You should still like come on my boot camp." Because otherwise, and his reason for it was because if you keep putting it off and try to build your SMV first, then you're eventually never gonna enroll. You're never gonna get to the point where you think that you're satisfied and you're good enough to be able to join to join the dating game. And I think the reason that he does that, like, is a tactic that quite a lot of online marketers do, is this sense of urgency, this sense of like, you need to do this thing now, you need to buy this now, like don't wait another day, like just buy it now. And then people sometimes fall into the trap of that. Like I think that it's quite a dishonest tactic that a lot of dating coaches use. It's no
Yeah.
different from like I see this is so common, like I can't believe nobody's even really talked about this. Some dating coaches like give these fake sales on their courses. So they'll say for one day only, we've slashed the price of our product in half from $500 to $250. Really, it's complete like bull. That's never true. Like they're doing these sales like on a weekly basis.
So yeah, so if your point of contention is that a lot of dating coaches are full of shit, then you and I are completely in agreement. Dude, I've been calling it out for ages. Like that's like and some people actually give me shit for it. They're like, oh, why don't you focus on yourself? I try to do a decent amount, but yeah, I agree with you. A lot of dating coaches are full of shit. Now, we do got to draw a line between being full of shit and using some element of marketing. So, for example, as a business owner, a dating coach, or whatever, this is like an issue I wrestle with. It's like how marketing do you want to get? So, what kind of my position has been is that I'll allow some level of marketing, but I won't go too far with it. So, I'm not gonna. I'll maybe send 1 or 2 emails to my email list, but I'm not gonna send 5 or 10. I'll maybe do a sale once every 3 4 months, but I won't do a sale every month. So again, you can, it is. Here's the thing I will say in defense of those dating coaches. It is a very tough industry in the sense that uh, your competition is generally lying and exaggerating. So the biggest dating coaches in this industry, it's not like anyone you see on YouTube. It's guys like Pandora's Box, guys like Girlfriend Activation System. They're the ones who are making $1 million a month. It's not like like guys that you see on YouTube or have popular channels. And the reason they're doing it is because they're the most ruthless with their marketing. They're basically saying like, buy this product. If you don't, your life will suck. You buy the product, then there's another upsell, then there's another upsell, right? So those are the guys that are the most ruthless with their marketing. So that's who I'm competing against. Now, of course, I'd rather just make less money than just lie to my audience and be full of shit. But I will do a little bit of marketing stuff. I will use a little bit of a call to action. And again, that's just a decision you have to make as a business owner, right? It's like how far do you want to go down that dating route? I would say in terms of like compared to my competition, I'm very non-marketing. I think my audience would agree with that. I really don't push shit. I really don't do these like hard sells. It's like, you want to buy my shit? That's awesome. If you don't, that's cool as well. I don't really give a shit either way. But yeah, I do agree with your initial point that a lot of dating coaches are full of shit, and the ones who are making the most money are probably the most full of shit because they're the most ruthless with their marketing, and they do a lot of crazy upsells and shit like that. Which like me, someone who I would consider myself fairly honest, I can't keep up with that. There's no way I'm going to compete with them when they're saying that if you buy our product, you're going to have the dating life of your dream. I can't say that without lying, right? Because there's a lot of other factors. Like you might buy my product and not have the dating life of your dream, and it's also going to require a lot of work on your part, which is not as sexy as buy this product and you will crush it with dating. That's it, right? So, yeah, I think you and I basically agree on that point, anyway.
Yeah. I do have to say, like compared to some of the other dating coaches that you've listed, like Pandora's Box, like I've seen that ad come up a couple of times. They seem like the most shady dating coaches out there. Like, but you're not on that level. Like you're a bit more, one of the more like the moderate ones.
Yeah, I mean, I don't push my marketing, but anyway. So let's. I think we're kind of past that point. We kind of both argued about online dating.
Hmm.
So okay, so there's just a bunch of other points I want to get to. So okay, another point that you and I disagreed with. Um, the only way you can fail if you're good looking is if you're autistic. So here's my point of contention with that. I know many guys who, and we can, if you want, we can look at their photos. But I think you and I would both agree they're above an 8 or whatever. Really good looking guys who are not autistic. They're not super fucking socially awkward, but they do lack basic social skills, and they're not good. And so what I see time and time again is yes, initially they have a lot of attraction from girls until they open their mouth and they start talking. And at that point, the only girls they get are the girls who are like super DTF, like the chicks who are just like basically do all the work for them. The chicks are like, so don't you want to invite me to your place? And that's going to be the small minority of girls. Most chicks they fuck up with. And I've seen this happen time and time again. I've gone out with some of these guys, and I remember one situation. I went out with this bodybuilder guy, and we opened a 2 set of girls, and this was in Prague. If you're watching this, bro, you know who you are. Anyway, so we opened this 2 set of girls. Initially, the chicks were way more interested in this guy. Like they almost instantly rejected me. Like, oh, sorry, you're too small. This was back when I was like 147 pounds. And then they were interested in this guy. And then, so that's why they went out with us to the bar. But then he started talking and I started talking. And then I was the one that wound up banging the chick. So I've seen a lot of examples of that. So that's another point I disagree with. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Well, even the guys that you're talking about, the highly attractive guys, who are really like low skills in terms of their social abilities. Like you said yourself that they're still getting something. They're still getting like some girls that
Sure.
are really like adamant about like wanting to take things further with that particular guy.
Yes.
Take
Small
that.
percentage.
Have a look at the other end of the spectrum. Like you get some guys who have been studying like game for years. Like I've seen some guys who have like really good social skills. Like they're really outgoing. Girls, they laugh at them, but they can't see them past anything more than a friend. Like they nearly always just end up getting friend zoned because like they don't see any physical attraction with them. Like in my opinion, the only difference between like a friend and a boyfriend, a potential boyfriend, is looks. Like if a woman, like, just answer this question: why would a woman want a guy as a friend if she didn't like his personality? Like
The question
if
is,
a woman wants a guy as a friend, it's implicitly showed that she likes his personality. Otherwise, she wouldn't want him as a friend. So why is that friend not a potential boyfriend? Why is he only in the friend category?
okay, yeah, it's a fair question. So this is how I would answer that. So I would agree with you that looks definitely will play a role in that. What could be just a friend could be more than that if she found that guy really attractive. Where I would disagree with you is where you say it's only looks. I think there's more to it than that. I think the potential friend guy, yeah, he's nice, he blah blah blah, but she doesn't see him as a sexual threat. She doesn't see him as the kind of guy like if I was in a room alone with this guy, he would just fuck the shit out of me. She just sees him more as like that nice little beta guy who's a little soft spoken, blah blah blah. And I've also seen good looking guys get friend zoned, so I've seen that. I would agree that it happens less with good looking guys, and I do think that you get slack by being good looking, but it's not just looks. By being meek, by being beta, by being weak, by being like too nice guy, that's all things that can get you friend zoned as well. Again, she thinks you're a cool guy, she enjoys your company, blah blah blah, but she just doesn't see you as that sexual threat.
Yeah, I agree with that. Like, it's not all looks, but it's still massively looks. Like, the main difference by far between the difference between a boyfriend and a friend is going to be looks. And then you are going to have the other elements that you've spoken about, about putting yourself like in the position of like you're making your intentions clear from the start that you want to something romantic rather than non-romantic. But still, like, even in those situations, like I've seen, especially this has been made even worse with online dating, is that your social skills are so much harder to communicate in these environment, and a lot of the time women, they will respond one guy a positive way for an attractive guy and see the way he's sending texts as really good, exciting, inviting game. Meanwhile, another guy who's average to below average, he'll be sending the exact same texts, and she won't be reciprocating or responding in the positive way. She'll be responding negatively. Like I've seen it myself. Like I could say one joke that's kind of pushing the boundaries in terms of like what's acceptable, what you can get away with, and I wouldn't get away with it. But if another guy said the exact same joke and he was attractive, he could get away with it so easily. Like I remember one example. I don't think I have it to hand at the moment, but
I would agree with
it
you,
was some
actually.
it was some Tinder message conversation of some fake male model dating profile, and he said something way out of line, like way beyond
I
the
know
line
what
of
you're talking about.
acceptability.
I saw that. Yeah, yeah. And I would actually agree with you on that. We're not disagreeing on that. What I would say is okay. So the initial point of contention was when you said that really good looking guys, the only way they can fuck up is if they're autistic. So again, so you're agreeing with me when I say that there can be a lot more than being autistic. Yes, small percentage of girls you will only fuck up with if you're autistic, but the majority of chicks, if you have really bad social skills, you will fuck up with, aside from being autistic. That's kind of my point.
Yeah, I agree with that. I've seen that in like my own life, but
Okay.
I think another factor that we're ignoring here is the environment. Like because I had one friend who was like really attractive, but his social skills were just awful. Like he wasn't very good at holding a conversation. Like he would have no game, like as most coaches would put it. And like I said to him, like mate, just take a few good photos, get on online dating apps. Like you're gonna get plenty of matches there, and you need minimal social skills. And
Mhm.
even the texts you do send, even if they are bad social skills, women will perceive them as good social skills just because, like, it's words on a screen. Like there's no tone, there's no you know uh, body language or anything like that being involved. It's literally just words. And if you're attractive and the woman finds you attractive, she's going to perceive the text messages that you send as positive.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so we're actually not disagreeing on much in terms of that. Um, the other point I want to bring up is on the other side of the scale is, and again, you may say this is anecdotal evidence, but I don't think that entirely dismisses it because I have other points like this. But specific story, I was actually going to show a picture, but someone talked me out of it for reasons that will become apparent. My ex-girlfriend, quite a hot girl, I think by any standard. I would put her at like a 7.58, whatever. Hot Latina, blah blah blah, big tits. And her husband, that's a whole story in of itself. Super ugly. And I'll tell you how I found out. One day I was like, I don't know, we're fucking around. I think I was like scrolling her phone and I see a picture of her with a really ugly guy. I was like, oh, who's this monster? And she's like, that's my husband. And I'm like, what? And I would rate the husband. God, I wish I could show the picture, but for I don't know how many reasons I can't. But believe me, like this guy, and I could probably show it to you privately after we're done with this. If you give me your word, you won't share this. But that guy's like a 3 and this chick is like a 7 or 8. And I was like, how the fuck did this guy get you? Because I was literally, my thought process was kind of like yours, like, okay, but this is like too much of a discrepancy. Like, this is not a 5 getting a 7. This is like a 2 getting an 8. Like, how the fuck does that happen? And she explained to me. She was like, yeah, when I was younger, I used to, this chick is pretty young. When I met her, she was 24. So we're talking, when she says younger, she means like 17, 18, whatever. I used to fuck a bunch of like gym guys and pretty guys. And then the last guy I was with, he mistreated me. He hit me, blah, blah, blah. Very sad. And let's take a look at it. Look at my dog. This guy was there for me. He listened to me, and I just kind of decided to, why not? Maybe I'll go with a nice guy. And he was really, really good in bed. He like fucked the shit out of me really well, surprisingly, blah blah blah. And so I gave him a chance, and then he was a nice guy. So kind of, we were together for a period, and that is kind of, I guess the point is, for this guy who's like looks wise a 2 or 3, like, yeah, that guy's gonna have a much harder road ahead of him. Like, no one is, I'm not disputing that, but that guy's not doomed to failure. Like, there's clearly, examples of guys who are, below average, who got decent chicks. It's just that, it's harder for them. Like, they do have to, yes, like for them, online dating is probably not gonna be the best option. So for this guy, it was social circle. But at that point, I wouldn't say it's like a lost hope. And I don't know if you're gonna agree or disagree with me on this. I don't think it's like a lost hope for those guys. I just think that it's gonna be a lot harder for them than it is for the guys who are better looking.
If I'm being honest, I think a lot of the points that you just said there, like they are the exact things that the black pillars are trying to highlight. Like, what's wrong with the dating market at the moment? Like, this guy, even if he was a 2 to 3 in looks, he got some promiscuous woman who slept with a huge number of partners. Like,
well, hang on, whoa. She
her dating
slept with a huge number of partners. Her lay count was like under 12 when I met her. In my opinion, that's not huge. Like, she's slept with a few guys. She's not highly promiscuous. Let's not make her seem like a giant slut.
Oh, okay, sorry. That is like how you put it out. Like, you said that she'd been with a lot of guys since the time she was 17 or 18, and then after she had been with all of those guys, it sounded like you were then going to say that she then settled for the nice guy. Maybe there was an element of like beta providing or beta buxing in there as well. Like, you didn't say if that was the case or not, but they're the exact issues that the black pill community is trying to highlight. I don't think this contradicts anything.
Okay, no, I guess the point I was gonna, because and again, maybe I don't want to put words in your mouth, but would you? I think I've heard, maybe not you, but other black pillars say that if you're, below this certain standard, you're fucked. Like, forget about dating. And this is an example of guy, who was able to, have some success with dating. Again, it's not going to be the same success that I'm going to have, but there's still an element. It's better than nothing. So, are you saying that
going back to like the efficiency of like time? Like, this is a point I'm not exactly sure even where myself, like where I stand on this issue, because it is quite extreme. But there's some guys within this community, they say if you are like below a certain threshold in terms of time efficiency, it's actually more efficient and better off. You're better off paying for professionals rather than hedging your bets, maxing out as many cold approaches as you can, risking your social status in warm approach, or wasting money on online dating apps, paying for gold and platinum, whatever. You're better off paying for professionals.
Do you believe in that?
If you know
Is
what I
that
mean.
your position as well?
I'll have to give that one a little bit more thought, because I'm not in a position where I would need to consider that myself. But for guys that are in that position, like, it is a bit of a tough decision to make, and it makes logical sense in terms of being efficient with your time. That if you do go that route, that probably is going to.
It's
Sorry,
such a
say again.
sad existence, like where you're just, all you can do is fuck prostitutes. That's such a, because the thing is that I'll be honest. I've said, like, I've hooked up with 2 prostitutes in my whole life. When I was younger, I was just kind of curious, anyway, and I really found it so unsatisfying. Like it's just so unfulfilling. Like I think that sex and female interaction is just such a key part of life. Like like fucking, yeah, I don't know, like social, like having socializing. Like you're not gonna die from it per se, but it's a key element of life. And if you're like just fucking escorts, you're just missing out on that key element of life. Yeah, you're busting a nut, but it's like so. I don't know. To me, that's such a sad existence. I guess we can. It kind of gets into like, what do you what are your priorities and your values in life? But to me, that would be such a sad existence. Like I would just
Is it
rather be inefficient with my time rather than be efficient but only fucks whores or escorts or whatever.
is it not a sad existence to like be a low value man, be hitting up hundreds of women, knowing that before you even do it, that 99% of the time you're going to get rejected, and you're banking on that lottery ticket that 1 in 1,000 women that you cold approach is like going to see some like an ounce of attraction in you, like, and be low value enough herself and probably have some sort of esteem issues, or like have something that's not particularly right in her life to like warrant herself wanting to be attracted to this low value man. Like that's going to have a massive number of issues for the guy we're talking about here. He's like, just the sheer number of rejections, like rejection after rejection that he's facing, is going to have a huge impact in terms of his self-reported value, his self-worth, his happiness, his self-esteem, and so on. Like that's going to cause huge amounts of
So that's kind of
negativity.
One of my contentions with the Blackpill community is how they look at rejections. So even a guy like me, I mean, you call me a 5.5, whatever. I'll call myself a 6.57. There's not much disagreement there. Even me, I get rejected more than I succeed. I've been pretty straightforward about that. You can see my track record on that. I say I fail more than I succeed. And I'm okay with it. It just matters of how you look and how you process those rejections. And I know guys who are better looking than me who are way worse at processing rejections. They get rejected, they get 1 or 2 rejections, they get bitter, they get butthurt, and they're done for the night. Meanwhile, I can take a bunch of rejections. I don't give a shit. It doesn't affect me because I know the girl is not rejecting me. She's rejecting her perception of me, which is heavily biased. I just don't give a shit. So it just depends on how you process rejections. I think there's healthier and unhealthier ways to process. And I think that Black pillars almost look at it as like a sunk cost. Like every time you get rejected, you give up like $100, right? And then like you go through enough rejections and then you're broke. Versus I don't see it that way. I don't see it as you lose anything when you get rejected. Who gives a fuck? Like I don't care if some random chick rejects me. So it's just like how you process rejections plays a huge role.
Okay, I think that you're just looking at rejections like on the surface level here. And you're missing like 2 key pieces of information. Number 1 is the quantity. Like the quantity of rejections that an unattractive guy will face, it's going to be far more likely than the number of rejections or like the rate of rejection that you face. But what's more important, the second piece of information that you're missing out, is the type of rejection that you get. Like most of the rejections that you get are probably going to be, like ending, I don't know, like a woman like letting you off softly, or at best, like, she's ghosting you or something like that. But if a really unattractive guy is, approaching girls, at best, he's going to like get, an instant rejection. Like at worst, he's going to get the security called on him, a slap in the face. Like I've seen some guys, I've seen videos at like TikToks of guys approaching women and they get water thrown at them. Like if a woman has a water bottle in her hand, she will throw water, like the water that she's got in her hand, at him because she sees it as an insult for the guy who's approaching him, who's really unattractive. Like just the nature of the rejections that you face get exponentially worse the further you go down the look scale as a man, and those rejections are going to have a massive impact on your self-esteem rather than like the friend zoning or flaking. Like they're manageable.
Well, first off, nobody friend zones me. But no, okay. So that aside, so I think that this what you're saying, that like those extreme rejections, it's the equivalency when I hear the Redpill guys like Rolo or Fresh and Fit talking about false rape allegations. Of course, they happen once in a blue moon. But if you look at the statistics, you're as likely to get a false rape accusation as you are to get hit by lightning. It could happen, but it's very unlikely, right? And these are, yes, of course, there's going to be people who have a crazy reaction to post on TikTok. I remember one time, dude, I was walking down the street, and this was a while ago. I approached a chick, and she turned around, she did one of these, like she was gonna punch me. I was like, yo, lady, calm the fuck down. And she just like and walked away. I was like, yo, what the fuck is wrong with this chick? Right. So even like guys who are better looking or whatever, quote unquote, can get weird rejections. But again, those situations are very rare where you like get those extreme reactions. As long as you're not being massively creepy and you're like, hey, little girl, you want to fuck daddy? Like, as long as you're not doing extremely creepy shit, those extreme rejections, they're not going to happen. And I'd be happy to do this experiment and take a guy that we can agree on. I mean, I guess we'd have to find one first. But just like my roommate, for example, he's worse looking than me, right? My business partner, but I've never seen him get like an extreme rejection. In theory, it could happen if he does another several thousand, but those extreme rejections, they're really rare. And just because you see it happening on TikTok, it's just like if you turn on the news in America, you hear about school shootings quite often. I don't know if you guys see that in England or not, but it's every time you turn on the news, the school shooting. So it's easy to jump to the conclusion that like, oh fuck, everyone's getting shot in school, but your chances of actually being involved in a school shooting are very small, right? Not to say that it's still okay, it's not, but it's just like, it's easy to think when you turn on the news or you turn on to TikTok that, oh, wow, this is happening all the time. But in reality, it's barely ever happening.
Yeah, there is an element of truth to that. Like, obviously, a lot of the content creators I see nowadays, like they're posting TikToks and then doing like reaction videos to them. And 9 times out of the 10, these are the most extreme cases and they're quite rare. But I think the point still stands that the lower you go down the looks threshold, the more extreme and the more common the rejections you get are going to be. Like if a unattractive guy, like it's like I see it so many times, like in my own Discord server, you get unattractive guys posting either stories from themselves or posts from Reddit from other guys' stories where they say that they literally like have security called on them for approaching a woman. Like, I don't know if this is true, but like I highly doubt that you yourself have ever had that situation happen.
I actually have, believe it or not. I was on USC campus, and it was really random because I don't even know what the fuck I did. My game was fun, but yeah, someone called security on me. Security came up to me like, "Hey, excuse me, sir, what are you doing here?" Blah blah blah, and they politely asked me to leave. I mean, this was like 4 years ago, but yeah, I've had it happen. I mean, again, this didn't affect me. I was like, okay, cool, and I kind of laughed it off and just left. I was like, fuck these little college girls, but I have had that happen. Yeah, once.
Yeah, and how did you react to that? Like, if that happened on a more regular basis, like if it happens once, fair enough, you might be able to brush it off, be like, oh, this is quite, oh, that was a bit annoying. But if it happens like regularly or more regularly, then that's going to have a huge blow to your self-esteem. Like, you're going to think to yourself, like, oh,
I would like to see some data that really shows, or some experiment where we take an ugly guy and show that he's getting security called on him all the time. Because I just have a hard time believing that if you're ugly, like you're just gonna get security called on you left and right. It's like you can't go anywhere without having security called on you. I have a hard time believing that. Based on like a guy, because there's a lot of factors we don't know. We don't know what his approach was, what he said. So there's a lot of factors. So at that point I'm just not really confident.
Okay. I think we like brushed up on this point. You said you have more things to get to.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay. Okay. So this is one that you were kind of debating with Kevin Ray Wilder. So working out for certain guys makes them worse. And you said 20% of guys, right? Is that correct?
Did I say 20% of guys? I think, in fact, yeah, I remember this. And I think the sentence I said immediately before that was, "Don't quote me on this." But 20% of guys.
Just I don't want to put words in your mouth, so just whatever you think it is. Like what, roughly speaking, what percentage?
Well, if I had time to get my data up, the 1,000 people that I've rated, I might be able to get you a more accurate number, but I don't have that with me at the moment.
Just a ballpark, roughly speaking.
Yeah. Okay, I'd say like
1 out of 2.
Yeah, like 10-15% of guys. I would say like it's gonna like going to the gym for them. Like there's a difference between not going to help them and making them worse. Like they're two completely different things. Like for 99.9% of guys, unless he has like some condition where going to the gym like is going to cause him more issues, then unless that's the case, then going to the gym is going to help guys even besides the dating like compartment, like in terms of based on like physical health, the benefits in terms of your like self-esteem, your happiness, they're all going to be increased, even putting aside the dating market at the moment.
Okay, so then so you're saying that 10 to 15% of guys. So you're saying now that it's not going to hurt them, it's just not going to help them, right? Is that correct? Or
It's not going to hurt them, but I
oh,
don't
okay.
think it's going to help them in the dating market. Like you're going to get like 10, 15, maybe 20% of guys that no matter how, hard they gym, even if they, get a 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10 physique, then like because of other extreme factors such as their face, their height, then it's not going to make a difference in terms of their dating life. Like I remember just at the top of my head, one client that I had who consulted me through my business, he was 5'4", and he actually went through the trouble. Like I actually felt quite bad for him. He spent like 2 years getting a highly aesthetic physique, 10% body fat, like V taper, jack shoulders, and he said that it literally made no difference in terms of his dating life. Like it was still women still perceived him as a the term is like a manlet. It means somebody who's short and
Yeah, I've
jacked,
heard that
and
term.
it doesn't really like help like boost their SMV.
Okay, I could have sworn I heard you say that it was gonna either for like a certain percentage of guys, it actually makes them worse off. But if you're saying that it's neutral, then I don't really think we have a big disagreement. I might think it's a lower percentage, but there are probably I would agree that there are some guys, some small percentage of guys for who go into the gym isn't really going to make much of a difference. It would have to be like extreme circumstances, like where they have like some kind of deformity. But I would somewhat agree with that. I would still say that even for that client of yours, like, oh, he's going to live longer and be healthier. Like, boo-hoo him. It's not like he did something like so good. He developed discipline. He probably had a good time. He feels better about himself because he's in better shape. So it's still not like whatever, like he's now like worse off or something like that. Like at the very least, he's going to be in better health. Like that's not like the worst thing to have. But if you're saying that it's neutral, then I don't think. I could have sworn I heard you say that it makes guys worse off. There's some guys who get worse off by going to the gym. So I was going to argue that, but if that's not your point, then I don't think there's really much we can say on that.
Yeah, I think I know where you're coming from now. I think the point that you're referring to is in one of my earlier videos. I did say that maybe there was an element of like exaggeration. Like I think most content creators can agree with this, that they sensationalize a lot of their content, just to make it a little bit more extreme.
Sure.
It just increases like the viewership of your channel. So I think I may have said that one time in the past in one of my other videos,
Ah,
but
and you're giving me shit for exaggerating. You do the same thing.
yeah,
No, I'm just
yeah, but if I was like gonna give like my honest perspective on it, like I agree completely with you that even the guy who is 5'4" and he like went to the gym and he got a ripped physique, he's still like got all of the other positives are there, like the physical health is there, the discipline is there, like all of the other positives are still there, so we agree on that.
okay, fair enough. Then yeah, there's not much point of contention here. You just no longer can give me shit for exaggerating my height by
Hmm.
an inch or two. Uh, but yeah, I get that. I understand that. I'm not going to give you shit for that. Okay, so moving on to the next point. Uh, okay, so you said five. Okay, another point. And again, if you think these are not accurate summary of you, tell me because I don't want to. Again, one thing I really don't like doing is miscategorizing because I hate when people do it to me. So I'm not going to do it to other people. 5 to 7s will struggle massively. Is that still your position?
5 to 7s. What video is this referencing?
I went through a bunch of your content. I don't remember. I think it was the one on why you shouldn't do online dating. Again, I'm not sure because I mass
Yeah,
went through your
yeah,
content.
yeah. Actually, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about now. Yeah, on online dating, the difference between like a 6 out of 10 man and a 6 out of 10 woman is going to be night and day.
I
Like
agree
the
with that.
6 out of 10 man is going to have to work, 100 to 300 times harder. Like, in fact, that's not even putting things into perspective here. Like, it's not even in terms of how much work a guy can put in. Like, it's just not even comparable. Like, when you look at a male female equivalent, like on equal looks ratings, how they measure up, like it's just not even comparable.
Sure, I would agree with the fact that it's so much easier for chicks who's a 6 to get laid than a guy who's a 6. I'm not going to debate
It's,
that at
it's
all.
it's easier for a 3 out of 10 woman on online dating than a 6 out of 10 man. I'll put it
I would,
that
I
way.
would actually probably agree with that as well. Yeah, there's no point of contention there. But the initial point, so 5 to 7s again, but 5 to 7s will struggle massively. So that implies that if you're between a 5 and a 7, that you're going to have a really fucking hard time. It's going to be like, it struggle
Well,
massively implies it'll be close to impossible. You can do it, but it's going to be fucking hard. So is that still your point, or was that
Well, I
one?
think you said earlier in the stream that like your current yield from online dating, I believe it was once a month. Like,
No, no,
or
I was saying,
you might have been referencing somebody else. Like, you might be able to
I
get
was
once
saying
a
that
month.
as like an extreme. I was just trying to, for analogy's sake, I was saying like, okay, like extreme. Let's take like worst case scenario, blah blah blah. It's more than once a month, but yeah,
Okay, yeah, but even then, like, I think most guys out there, their ideal, like, they will be wanting to have it either daily or, once every 2-3 days, like at the very least once a week. Most guys aren't getting anywhere near that. Like, their results from Tinder, like most guys, if we take the completely bang on average guy, like I'd say at most he's getting a result once per month, like nowhere near like
sure.
as what he would desire.
I mean, sure. I mean, but that would be like, with my business, I would desire to be a multimillionaire, right? But I have to sell for making like $20,000 or $30,000 a month. Like I'm still doing pretty well, but it would be like you wouldn't say I'm massively struggling with my business, right? Because I'm nowhere close to my goal. I would like to make like $1 million a month, right? But I'm not anywhere close to that. But you wouldn't say I'm massively struggling with my business, would you?
No, no, not at all.
So then
But
it's
like
like it's like
just
the
compare
same
that, just
thing.
compare that to a woman, like of anywhere like that up and down the spectrum of looks. She has no barriers. There's no hurdles put in place. Even if a woman is like really low value, she's gonna have no barriers in terms of online dating. She's able to
Sure,
get what she wants when she wants, like on command. Like a woman could even have no photos on her profile, and she's still gonna get like hundreds of guys
sure.
taking the chance, like sending her
Yeah.
messages, reaching out to her just for the possibility more than anything.
Okay, so it sounds like again, like your argument is more of that men will struggle a lot more than women. In which case, I would agree with you. I agree with that. Yeah, men will struggle a lot more than women. I wouldn't say though. I wouldn't then make the logical conclusion that just 5 to 7 will struggle massively because I know plenty of guys in that range who don't struggle massively, myself included. According to your rating system. But
Well, can I
if your
just say,
point is, go ahead.
yeah, can I just say, like, bearing in mind that the guys at the very top, like, I remember one client, I actually like had a few conversations with him to, like, I was thinking of using some of his conversations in a video of mine. He was like a very top tier guy, like easily top 5%, if not like even smaller percentages than that, like top 2%. He was very up there in terms of looks, and he was just telling me like his results from Tinder is like once every 2-3 days. Like he said, in a 3 month period, he was able to sleep with something like 45 separate women. Like he just went proper hard for this like period of 3 months, and then
Sure.
he just tried to maximize his results as much as possible, went on this crazy spree, and he was able to get those kind of numbers. That's like satisfiable for him. Meanwhile, another guy, who's average, he's never in a million years going to get those kind of numbers. Like at most, as we've already said, like he's going to get once per month.
Sure. And again, this goes back to I would use this analogy in my business. I have friends who have trust funds whose daddies were millionaires, and they for them they can make a lot more money than me because they have a lot more money to invest. Blah blah blah. They have much bigger margin for failure, and so yeah, of course those guys have a big leg up for me. It's going to take me more work to get to that level. And it's the same thing. Yeah, of course it's going to be for that good-looking guy. He's going to have an easier time banging like 2-3 girls a week than the guy who's average. There's no disagreement on there. I just disagreed with the initial point that 5s to 7s will struggle massively. Again, because I know plenty of 5s to 7s who don't struggle massively. But they don't. But you're right. They don't have. If they put in the same effort as the guy who's 9 or 10, they're not going to get the same result. So yes, so we're agreeing on that. I actually don't think we're disagreeing much on this point. I think we're just kind of largely arguing semantics with this point.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. I'm happy to move on to the next point.
Cool. Okay. Uh, Okay, so the next one I want to, and again, if you said in one of the videos, men's money means nothing. So my counterpoint was, how do you explain seeking arrangement?
Seeking arrangement.
Are you familiar with
You
that?
Are you happy to clarify that term? Maybe
Yeah,
it's an
sure. So
American
seeking
one. I've
arrangement,
never heard of it before.
so maybe it's not that big in England, but yeah. So seeking arrangements like all over fucking US. It's a website where girls go to meet sugar daddies or guys. But so what's interesting about sugar daddy? I mean, what's interesting about seeking arrangement is that on seeking arrangement, you're the hot girl. So what I mean by that is we take a guy who gets very little results on Tinder. He takes those same pictures on seeking arrangement. He gets 5x the amount of, interest from girls, right? So for example, I used to fuck around with this like several years ago. When I would go on seeking arrangement, I would have a shitload of fucking chicks who open me first or like, hey, you're so cute, what can we meet? On Tinder, that does happen, but it's once in a blue moon. Most of the time, I have to start a conversation. So basically, you get an artificial boost in your sexual market value, and there's two reasons for that. One is because you have a lot less competition on seeking arrangement because a lot of guys don't know about that you can meet girls on seeking arrangement without paying them money. Two, because there's a $70 a month fee, which a lot of guys can't afford for whatever reason. Um, but also because it's the presumption that you're someone who's a millionaire, right? So that's why I get that artificial boost. And so, and I agree with you that you should never lead with your wallet, blah, blah, blah. But I think we can agree that money definitely makes a difference for a guy. I mean, would you disagree with that?
My first point, I've got 2 points to make. I find it incredibly strange that we had this disagreement earlier about paying for professionals, but now you're talking about this website or app, whatever it is, where you have to pay money to meet girls or something like this.
So, okay, let me be very clear about that. So, on seeking arrangement, there are some guys who pay girls to meet money, but I've never once paid a single dollar to meet a girl on seeking arrangement, nor have a lot of guys who I know. So you can meet girls on there without spending money. The reason why you get such a big boost is because it's implied that you're a multimillionaire because you're on that website. It's implied, even if that's not the case. Just that your average broke guy, if you can scrap together 70, it's just like with Tinder Gold, you pay $30 a month. On seeking arrangement, there's a monthly fee of $70 a month. That's all you pay if you're a guy who's not looking to pay for sex.
Yeah, that was the second point that I was going to talk about. That if you said it was no big issue paying $30 a month for Tinder Platinum or Gold, whatever it is, then surely $70 isn't going to be much of a barrier either. Like it's still relatively like small amounts of money, like in the big picture when especially if you run a business where you're earning tens of thousands of dollars, if not hundreds of thousands.
Right. Yeah, well, I'm definitely not making hundreds of thousands, but yeah. So, okay, fair enough. I mean, I guess I was just trying to, understand why more guys don't use that as a tool. I guess maybe it has more to do with the fact that they simply don't know. Like everyone knows about Tinder, but for example, you didn't know about seeking arrangements, so maybe a lot of guys don't know. Maybe it's not so much the monthly fee. Again, that was just me, like kind of trying to take a stab at it. But anyway, so the point I want to make is that on that website, regardless of why more guys don't use it, and there's some reasons why I personally don't like to use it, but is that you do get an artificial big boost in your algorithm. And if you want to try this experiment, go on there yourself and try your photos and see how much interest you get on there versus compared to Tinder. But it's going to be more. I would almost guarantee that. So again, like I just like, do you truly believe that money makes no difference in terms of your ability to get chicks?
It won't hinder your ability to get chicks, but definitely the authenticity of the women that you're dating is going to be massively impacted.
Sure.
Like I'll put it this way, like just because you have a bigger number on your bank account screen, on your account balance, that's not going to get a woman turned on. That's not going to, no woman is out there sees a number on a bank account balance and thinking like, oh, like this is really turning me on now. Like,
bro, have you seen Brittany Renner?
No, I haven't seen
Brittany Renner. Yeah, her whole thing. She literally, or Blue Jasmine. I'm thinking Blue Jasmine. She literally said in an interview, she's like, "Yeah, when I see a guy who has money, I get wet." So there are a certain amount of chicks.
That's so obviously satire. Like she's making fun of it. If anything, that's satire.
No, dude, check out this.
If a woman's doing that and she's saying like, "Oh, this guy with loads of money is making me wet," like
check out.
So obviously, like she's taking the mick like out of the guy rather than being serious.
Check out interviews with this chick. She's dead serious. That's the scary part. I wish she was kidding, honestly. I truly wish she was. But there are a lot of chicks who, again, I agree with you that it's not going to give you the high level of authenticity of women, for sure. Again, that's why I'm not a believer in leading with your money in any sense of the word. But there are some chicks who will be very attracted to guys who have money. And I see this all the time in Miami. I see like fucking a 30-year-old chick walking around with a 65-year-old guy. Like, what else would she be attracted to him for besides his money? Like, she wants his fucking money. That's what draws her in. And 9 out of 10 times, that guy's a multimillionaire. So I see this quite often. Again, those are not the quality of chicks that you might want for long term, but for short term, for just banging these chicks, money can be used as a tool.
One of the main issues I have with money is that it almost always ends up backfiring. Like just take a look at Jeff Bezos. He's the richest man in the world. The richest woman in the world is a result of their divorce. Like
Fair
she
enough.
was entitled to, I believe 50% of his Amazon stock holdings, and that made her like the richest woman in the world because of
Yeah.
that. And would he have got that caliber of woman if he didn't have any money? If he was just an ordinary average guy, chances are probably very slim. But because he had that money, and he pretty much led with his wallet in order to marry this woman, and then it ended up leading to like him losing half of his fortune.
Okay, so that's a completely different point, which I would agree with you on. That yeah, when that kind of leading with your money does often backfire more often than not, because a lot of these guys are really dumb. They're very smart in terms of business, but they're very dumb in terms of social interactions and stuff. And they do legitimately start to trick themselves into thinking, "I think she just likes me for me." It has nothing to do with the massive amount of money or stock that I've given her. I think she just likes me for me. So I do agree
I
with
don't
you that a
No,
lot of
I
people
don't
want
think I don't think that's the case. Like these guys are doing it because they know deep down that they don't bring much to the table in terms of anything else but their money. The only thing that they can bring to the table is their money. Like I put it this way: if Jeff Bezos really thought that women liked him for him, then he wouldn't give any woman a penny. He wouldn't pay for anything. He wouldn't pay for any dates. He wouldn't pay for any bills or whatever. He wouldn't pay for any lavish lifestyle. He would literally just assume that the woman likes him for him, go really cheap, like take her for walks in the park, and that's about it. That's where he would draw the line. Why bother spending any money on this woman if she likes him for him?
You would think that, and if I was in Jay Bezos's position, I would probably do that myself. I would probably never. I would probably be like super stingy, especially initially, because I would want to make sure the chick likes me for me. But that's not how a lot of rich guys do it. It's just not. Like I know good-looking rich guys who still lead with their wallet. It begs the question why. I don't know, because maybe they have low self-esteem, maybe they think it's easier, blah blah blah. There's many reasons, but yeah, in theory, what you're saying makes sense, and that's how I would do it if I was Jeff Bezos. But that's not in reality how most Jeff Bezoses do it. It just kind of is what it is. But I think that kind of goes back to the initial point again, that we can agree that still, even because you said that Jeff Bezos largely got that chick because my fucking Game of Thrones shit turned on. Hang on a second. Oh, I gotta get rid of this. Game of Thrones author hang on a second.
said he likes Tyrion.
Just turn it off by the plug.
Tyrion is villain, of course, but there's not.
See, guys, I wasn't kidding when I said I'm a massive Game of Thrones nerd. So anyway, yeah, so I think you said that he wouldn't have been able to get that girl if it wasn't for money, which implies that money is attractive. Now, the fact that it backfires often, that's a fair point, but that's a different point. So if you want to argue that you shouldn't use money to get chicks, then that's a point we can agree on. But if you want to argue that money is not attractive, then I think that's self-contradictory based on your statement that Jeff Bezos probably only got this chick because of money.
In my experience, money has had literally zero impact on my dating life. Like I've had times when I've had money and I've had times when I've not had money. And
have you ever been a multimillionaire?
Well, I've not been a multi-millionaire, but when we're talking about women who, most women nowadays are living paycheck to paycheck, and like if you can afford a £50 date or like $50 in American currency, then that's seen as like having enough spare resources in order to pay for at least some things that she can enjoy.
That's really not, but that's the promise that's not really a substantial
yeah, of course not.
Size. Like I think that you would have to get to a point where you're like a multimillionaire, and then you can say, okay, it made no difference. But just the fact that you're like able to pay for your shit, that's not like impressive to a chick. That's like a guy
of course not.
Who can like bench press like 50 pounds, like, hey, you like my lifting? And he's just like, what? Like that's nothing, So that's kind of like that type of thing.
Yeah, of course not. I'm not trying to highlight that, but the point I was going to make is that when women, if a woman is genuinely attracted to me, she will always put money on the table. Like she would have no issue splitting the bill, or like having an equal relationship. But whenever a woman, like isn't genuinely attracted to me, and this is revealed like a few weeks or something like down the line, that like issues start creeping up. It's been the case that she's like expected me to pay for things that she's like she I don't know, like there's just so many examples she would expect me to pay, like, and as soon as that happens, like even if I carried on my behavior the exact same, like eventually the woman like will show that it's not on, like there's because I believe that if a woman is genuinely attracted to a person, she wouldn't even question like him bringing out his wallet and paying disproportionately more. Because I think if a woman, expects a man to pay, she is implicitly saying that what I bring to the table is more than you. Therefore, you need to compensate in one way or another. And the most simple way that you can do that is by putting disproportionately more money down than I am in terms of paying for things, paying for the relationship.
Okay, I want to just address one point. People are saying in the comments, I think you and I were both wrong about this. So they're saying that I forget her name, whatever, but Jeff Bezos' wife, she married him before he even started Amazon. So okay, so then Jeff Bezos is not a good example. So I'll retract that. I for some reason thought they got married after that. But if she married him before he started Amazon, before he had any money, then there was probably some other reason, whatever. Maybe she found him attractive, blah blah blah. But yeah, I mean, so I'll just retract that example. But the point still stands is that, again, I think we're kind of going circles, so I'm happy to move on to the next point. But I do think that there's going to be a certain percentage of women. Now, there's going to be some women who are not going to be attracted by money. And those are the women I would argue that you want to probably date long term. But there's going to be a certain percentage of women, more in some countries, less in other countries. You're going to get a lot more of those in Miami and LA, and probably London to some extent than you are in like Eastern Europe or, countries like that. But a certain percentage of women who are very attracted and drawn to money. And I can give countless anecdotes of that, but we're kind of going in circles on this one. So I'm happy to move on to the
I'm happy to move on to the next point as well,
because I don't think we're even disagreeing on much also. But I think you and I both agree on that you shouldn't lead with your money because that can have disastrous consequences. So you and I agree on that. Okay, so I think the other one we're actually getting to the bottom of the list. So one of the things that you said, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, is status doesn't matter. And that's one big point of contention, because I think status is literally one of your most important factors. And the reason, first of all, there's an evolution element to it. So back in caveman times, which is kind of where we evolved from, the guy who had the most status, who had the respect of the tribe, that's the kind of guy that was going to keep her baby safe. Now, of course, granted, there's some element where, this guy's tall and good looking, so there's an element of that. But also, she had a chance in caveman times, marry the most pretty boy, most pretty caveman in the tribe, or the guy who has the most status and the most respect of the tribe. She'll probably marry the guy who has the most status and respect, because he has the best chance of keeping her kid alive. And if he dies because he has the respect of the tribe, then the other members are going to take care of the kid, and they're not going to ostracize her and kick her out of the community. So I think we evolved to value status as an important thing. And I think that you can see so many examples nowadays of status and cloud playing a big role, like a humongous role. Like take DJ Academics. I mean, he's I like him, but we can agree. And he himself said he's not an attractive guy. He's by all standards not that attractive. And he says, he's like, yeah, honestly, I would not get 90% of the pussy I get if it wasn't for my clout. So you see a lot of like famous people who just fully acknowledge it. Like, yeah, clout. I see this all the time. I watch a lot of big podcasters. Like they're like, yeah, like on the Impulsive podcast and whatnot, like guys who have clout, like, yeah, it makes a humongous fucking difference. So are you contending that, status and clout doesn't help you get laid?
Right, I have a few main points about status. I've got 4 things to bring up. Number one, you kind of already touched upon this, but most of the time, like, status is massively correlated with looks. Like, I'm not going to bother repeating statistics, like, but I've made a whole bunch of videos about this already. Video, yeah. Like, that your status is very much correlated with your looks anyway. Like, better looking people are more likely to reach higher positions. And the same goes for height as well.
Sure.
The next one is that like the guys that you're talking about who are high status and are able to consistently like date the women that they want to date, we're talking about like the top 5%, if not the top 1% of guys who are able to achieve like this level of status. So the definition of status implies that you're always going to have like 1% of guys at the top who have it, and then the other 99% are the consumers of the men, like with the status. So like if you have one DJ, like he's gonna cater to like a couple hundred, if not a couple thousand or tens of thousands of consumers. Like status is very limited, like resource that only the top 1% is going to achieve. Next point, the dating market has massively changed, like in terms of like in comparison to your example that you're talking about, like the prehistoric times when a woman, her main risks of not marrying into status would have been like her baby getting killed.
That
Like
has
because,
changed, but evolution has not changed. So we have all evolved to value certain, like why height? You know, why do we care so much about height? You and I agree
well,
that.
it's not going to be as high of like women's priorities nowadays. Status because like the risk of her baby's health being at risk is very low. Because we have very like strong institutions, health standards, and
Sure.
we live in the
But
modern
again,
world.
evolution and attraction, they're not logical, they're emotional. So it's hardwired into her to value status from tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of years of evolution. It's not logical. A lot of things that people do are not logical. Like, why do I logically find chicks who have massive tits? Like, there's no real logical reason for that. It's just what I find attractive, for whatever evolution reasons. So it doesn't have to be logical.
Okay, yeah. But I think there is like, you're always going to have evolutionary reasons, but on top of that, you're also going to have cultural reasons for why people, what people find attractive. Like what people found attractive 50 years ago, like the style and trends that people have back then, is going to be completely different to what we have now. And neither of those things have any correlation to do with evolution. Like clothes are a man-made concept. Like there's nothing inherently nothing inherently to do with evolution, the like fashion trends or anything like that, but still some things are considered more attractive dependent on the time. So I think it holds true that you're going to have both cultural and evolutionary factors for why people are attracted to the people that they're attracted to. And the last point I was going to say, this is probably like the most shocking one, and I only found out about this recently. Have you ever heard of concealed ovulation?
Oh no, what is that?
Oh, this is a like very very like rare thing like in the animal kingdom, but I believe humans and it's either 5 or 6. I'm pretty sure it's six other species in the animal kingdom are known to have this concept of concealed ovulation. And concealed ovulation basically means that a woman doesn't show when she is able to get pregnant, like in terms of her mating cycle. And the advantages of that means that so like if a guy marries into, if a woman marries into status, marries like the high status guy, she can then on the side like she, because a woman will know herself when she's ovulating, but it's not exposed to the other men of the tribe when she's ovulating, so she can know herself when she's ovulating. So during that period of time she can then go mate with the like high genetic quality individual of the tribe, like on the side. But the man with the higher status, like he still thinks that he's like the one who's like passing on his genes to the next generation, but that's not the case. And this idea of concealed ovulation has been like genetically, well, evolutionary, like formed because of so this thing can take place, so women can take the genes of the highest quality man.
Yeah, I would need to see some data that shows that pretty boys, guys who are better looking, get cheated on less than guys who are less attractive. I haven't seen any data on that. But I want to get back to this. So okay, so let me ask a very simple question. Let's say you have two guys, both are by all standards a 6, right? And I agree with you that in the sense that status is somewhat limited. We can't all be guys with high status, right? Because then we are the same. We're not high status then. You have one guy who has, who is high status. Let's say he's has 1 million followers on Instagram. He has a blue check mark. He's been in several TV shows, whatever. Or he's very well known in his local community. In Miami, maybe he owns like 5 or 6 of the businesses. He owns a few of the clubs here. Different ways to have status. And then you have another guy who's the same exact level of looks. But he has no status. He's just your average white collar worker. So you're saying that both of those guys will have the same chance of getting laid? You don't think the guy with the status will have any edge?
No, not at all. Like,
okay.
Not at all. Like, of course, like I believe status is a factor of attractiveness.
Okay.
But my main points of contention about that is that like it's a resource that's very, very limited. Like in terms of how people are able to achieve that. So like that guy with 1 million followers, how many guys have 1 million followers on Instagram? Like probably less than a few hundred. The world population is 7 billion.
Right. Yeah, so then you and I are not disagreeing on much. Then I thought your point was that status doesn't factor into attraction, and it sounds like that's not the case. So,
No, it does factor into attraction,
okay, all right,
of course, but it's massively limited, and it's also very correlated with your looks. Like you can almost guarantee that the guys out there with 1 million followers, a lot of them are going to be male models or celebrities or actors that, their looks has played a big role in terms of them being able to develop their status. Like nobody's hiring any average-looking male models.
Sure, but there are average look. Yes, I agree with you that I've seen your statistic on CEOs, blah, blah, blah. It's something like 60% of CEOs are over 6 feet. I'm not disputing that statistic. But there's also, 40% are guys who are under 6 feet. So yes, you do have an edge if you're born with good looks or height and blah, blah, blah. That does play a role. It's going to increase your likelihood of either making money or being a high status guy. But I would argue that you are kind of dealt with a hard card. So this is it's kind of a difference in attitude. The Blackpill community talks a lot about statistics, like, oh, but according to these statistics, your chances are, not that high, blah, blah, blah. And that's fine. But I want to be the outlier. Like, for example, and this may be slightly unrelated, but like, let's take my aunt, for example. She had pancreatic cancer. That's a 5 to 10% survival rate, right? But like, what I respect about her is that she wasn't like, oh, well, 90% chance I'm gonna die, so fuck it. Like, she was like, okay, how do I become part of that 5%? So she like did her research. Okay, these people who got bad from pancreatic cancer did this, this, and this, and this, and she's alive now. Great for her. I'm happy for her. But so that's exactly, even if I have, less than whatever suboptimal chances, I still want to reverse engineer and be part of that group, because I can't change the circumstances I was dealt with. I don't want to just be the statistic. I want to be the exception to the statistic. I want to be the anomaly. So even if you are that guy, and I do agree with you that status is, not for everyone. My main point of contention was, again, because I thought you were saying that status makes no difference. So I was going to argue against that. But there are guys who have status, for example, who are not, good looking. There's plenty of those, right, as well. But they're less likely. I would agree with you on that. But yeah, so the point is 2 points. One is that status, we agree on that status plays a role in attractiveness. I think it plays a heavy role. And 2 is that, and we're talking about status in isolation, status by itself. And 2 is that I believe that you want to be the exception. You want to be the anomaly, because what other fucking option do you have? Rather than just being part of the statistic.
Yeah, I agree mostly with those points that you just made. Like you want to try to be the exception to the rule rather than like just accept your fate as the rule itself. I want to raise one more point on this. Like one of the examples that you used was like if you take 2 guys that are equal looks, like equal height, equal everything, but one guy's high status. Just think about like this example. If 2 guys are like equal, they have equal abilities. Let's say if they're trying to become a top actor, like they're both competing for the same role. Mm-hmm. They both have equal acting skills. They both have equal intelligence, like equal charisma, equal, all things to do with acting. But one guy was better looking than the other. One guy was an 8 in looks. One guy was a 5 in looks.
He would have an edge.
The person who's getting the role, 9 times out of 10, apart from like elements of luck, are going to be there as well. 9 times out of 10, it's going to be the better looking person getting the role, especially if it's, like they're trying to cast a male action hero, like the lead role. Like they're going to cast him rather than the average looking guy. So like you can use these examples both ways. Like if you're trying to say, an equal guy of equal this, equal that. But, if you isolate this factor, then this is going to have a positive impact. Like you can say that with anything, not just like status.
Sure, fair enough. I wouldn't dispute that. I do think that is probably the case. And that means that if you're the guy who's not as good looking, then you have to be a better actor. You have to be a significantly better actor than that guy who's better looking than you. So that means you're going to have to work harder, which, is something I've said. And the same thing with game. If you're that guy who's not as good looking, you have to work harder than the guy who is good looking. It is what it is. You want to optimize your looks as much as possible. But I do agree there's only so much you can do on that end. Status, it is kind of hard for most people. But again, it is what it is. But also another thing is that we're kind of talking about extremes when we're talking about like that, million followers on Instagram. That is not accessible to most people for sure. But you can have status within your local community and within your local scene. So that's not going to give you nearly as much of an edge as having that million followers, but it will give you an edge. So I will just kind of leave it at that.
So what would be an example of like local status then, for say?
It would be, for example, being well known It just depends on what you're into. But let's say if you're into clubs, being well known, in the club scene. So like you're like one of the promoters or something like that. You know the owner. You have access to tables. You have access. You can get people into the club. You can get people out of the club. Like you have, when you go in, everyone knows who you are. That kind of thing.
Okay, yeah, that's fair enough. That makes sense, and I guess that would be a lot more accessible for average guys to achieve rather than like the top 1% of being the guy with 1 million followers on Instagram.
Yeah. I mean, it's gonna be interesting because I'm kind of climbing up the cloud ladder, so it's gonna be interesting to see what my results are like in 2-3 years. We'll see. I mean, obviously at this point, I'm not nearly big enough to really take advantage of that. Although I have hooked up with, I think, 2 chicks as a result of, I think largely as a result of cloud. That's a small percentage, but we'll see. We'll see what happens. I'm kind of interested in documenting this and seeing where it goes as I get 100,000 followers, 500,000 followers. But yeah, so those are big points. I have some small points, but they're fairly insignificant. I think. I want to give you a chance to raise any points that you think we might have missed.
On status?
No, just in general. I'm like pretty much done with all the points of contention.
I think I've covered pretty much everything I had on my notes. Like I was just writing little notes as you was talking about things. Like if you said multiple points, then I would just jot each one of them down. But I was ticking off most of them just as we went through. And in fact, I'm just looking at my list now. I've covered everything. We've covered it all as we went along.
Okay, great. Yeah. So I think we've gone for I was going to take some questions, but we've gone for 2 hours. But yeah, I think this was a really good debate. I think it's interesting. Whenever I do these debates, I wind up that even though you and I don't agree on everything, obviously, you wind up having more middle ground than you thought. So it's interesting. And that's like been pretty much every time I've debated anyone. It's like you wind up having more middle ground than you expected, to say that. And definitely give you props for coming on, man. Like really, it takes balls, and appreciate it. I wish more people would do that, would do debates. I think a lot of people in the dating manosphere are scared to do debates because they're scared to be proven wrong. They're scared to look like a fool. So, I give you full props for, coming on and doing the debate.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, man. Yeah, like I agree. Well, that's one thing that we can definitely 100% agree on. Everything that you said in the last 90 seconds there. Like I know you do quite a lot of debates on your channel, and so do I. I'm just seeing some comment in the live chat of mine. You said about that you're gonna have a lot higher status in a couple years' time, but you're also gonna have a lot less hair. Like that.
Yeah. So okay. So let me quickly address that. So I've kind of ignored it for the last 2 years because I was just too busy with other shit. But now I'm heavily focused on it. So I just did 2 rounds of exosomes. It's very interesting science behind exosomes regrowing hair. It should work. I think I have some before pictures. I'm going to make a video on this after I get all 3 rounds, but we're going to compare and see how it works. And if it doesn't give me the results I want, I'm just going to get a hair transplant. So I will still very likely have at least equal hairline that I have now, if not better, hopefully, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I'm going to document all that because I haven't seen any videos people showing before and after results of exosomes for hair growth. So I think it's going to be a very interesting video that I want to make.
Yeah, maybe you'll need to purchase a couple face ratings from me before and after.
Yeah, perhaps. But yeah, okay. So good stuff. So people are asking about my debate with MD. So it's set for tomorrow. I don't know if he's going to show up or not. He's been kind of iffy in the emails. So we'll see. I hope he shows up. I think it's going to be a good debate. But if he doesn't show up, then I can't force the guy to do a debate with me. If he doesn't want to do it, then he doesn't want to do it. It is what it is. So I've definitely put myself out there and try to make it work. I even went on his channel, even though he kind of did stack all odds in his favor and brought on a bunch of random people on the screen who just it became like a 10-on-1, which I think is very intellectually disingenuous, but it is what it is. So yeah, guys, check out Waffles channel. We'll just send me the links after Waffles and whatever you want me to put up, I'll put in the description. Check out his channel. And yeah, guys, thanks for tuning in. Any last words, Waffles?
Yeah, I'll put the I'll put the link of your channel in mine, and then you put my one in yours, and it just makes it easier to find both of our
let's do that.
Our platforms.
Cool. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Thank you, Waffles, and until next time, everybody.
Okay, thanks a lot.